All right, good morning, everybody. Well, it's past 9, so if people come in late, then they have to work on their is it time management or activity management? So again, you can't manage time. You can only manage your activities, right? So the question is, when you're going somewhere, are you planning to be there on time, or do you want to get there early, right? If you have a listing appointment, Mike Ferry has always said, come there 15 to 30 minutes early. Drive your comparables, drive the neighborhood, you know, or maybe even just spend 5 to 10 minutes in front of the house preparing yourself, hyping yourself up, practicing your scripts, your objection handling, right? Reviewing the questions they've asked, okay, or that you've asked them, during the pre-qualification, right? So, all right. So today, for the next couple of weeks, we're gonna test you to see if you're really that committed. Because come July, this is going to cost you money to continue to do the work, right? Because you're going to have to spend money in your business. Okay, I'm going to ask you to like for some of you guys know about the newsletter system I've told you guys about. You have to invest in some technology, like some things that I will tell you. Okay, this now the program is for me to guide you, right? But also to have an open communication, open conversation. So if there's something I say that doesn't totally jive with you or you have a question about, you need to ask. All right. Because I don't have all the answers or the correct answers, but I do know what works. Okay. If you do what I teach you exactly what I tell you, you will succeed because the people that have are succeeding. Right. Now, they succeed in different ways. Right. For instance, one of the things I need you guys to figure out is how much income do you really want to earn in the next 5 years? Between now and the next 5 years, how much income do you want? Right? I've always told you guys, give me 5 years, I'll show you $1 million. So that means on average it's 200,000 per year, right? That's the average, right? If you do the math, right? $1 million divided by five is a million, right? Now, hopefully after 5 years, you would have figured out, hey, do you really want to push yourself to earn a million? Because you can create a system within 5 years to be earning $1 million. The only question is, how much time do you have to devote in your career now? For some of you guys, you have family, other obligations, whatever that may be. You may not have 50 to 60 hours per week in real estate that you can devote to, or you may not want to. You may be, hey, this is a retirement job. If I do a deal a year, I'm good to go. We have training for that too. Remember, our training is meant for either to do 1 to 100 deals. It's the same concept, guys. The only question is the intensity that you're willing to take it on, right? For instance, I have a group. We talk about the Think 25 group. This is people who wants to do at least 25 listings, 25 deals, talking to 25 people a day, right? Question is, do you want to do that, right? 25 deals in some areas is like, that's way too much money. I don't need that much money. I don't want to pay more taxes, right? For some, it's, hey, if I do a couple of deals, I'm good. It pays the bills. Fine. See, Mike Ferrer has always told me, if you want to do 25 deals, do it in the first half of the year. Take the rest of the half of the year. Take a vacation, right? So that's depending on where you are in each of your lives will determine how much time you can spend in your real estate now. I've always said you guys need to spend time spending your money, right? Don't work so hard to where you're not enjoying your money through the process, right? If I don't believe in being a workaholic, right? Although you need to put in the work, okay? So one of the first your homework, okay, is to create a perfect day in real estate. Okay, so that's homework number one, right? It's nothing new for anyone. For some of you guys, is to create a perfect day in real estate, right? Now, for some of you who may have a part-time, full-time job somewhere else, right, to help pay the bills, you have to create a schedule that fits your day, right? But for most of us, we get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, right? Okay. I don't know what time you wake up. We have some top agents that wake up at 8 or 9 o'clock and they're earning $1 million. It's up to you what time you wake up. Okay. We have some, moms who have kids, they wake up 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning to get their day started. It's up to you. Okay. I don't know what time you wake up. You have to figure out that is, right? Okay. So you got to create what we call a perfect day. If everything is as like when do you work out, right? So on that perfect day, I want you guys to determine what time do you plan to wake up, right? because you will be texting us as a group what time you wake up, right? Like there are some people who are in a text string where you're giving your affirmations, right? It's when people don't do their work, we're like wondering, did they wake up? You know, what happened, right? So if you want to be create accountability, right? If I told Brent, I'll see you at the gym at 6 a.m., right? And then I don't see Brent, I'm like, what happened? Right? But I still have to go, right? Because if something happens with Brent, hey, that's not necessarily his problem, but I gotta do my work, right? So if I say, hey, let's go prospect at 9 o'clock, Tinasha, and something happens, I don't show up, Tinasha still needs to do her work, right? So we're only responsible for ourselves. Although in this group, we're asking each other to support each other. And understand this, you don't need this program to support. You have that in your office. Your manager, you can set up half an hour with their on their schedule every week if you want to. And for some of you guys, that's going to be a requirement, right? And for some of you guys, it's just a check-in with them. Okay. So it's going to depend. But if you want personal coaching, half an hour a week, talk to your manager. We will give you that time, right? But you got to be committed. Because if you say, if Vulcan says, hey, I want to meet with you, 9 o'clock at this time, you know, it's got to be on your schedule. Yes, things come up, right? But it's got to be a good reason, right? But for the most part, it's not, an appointment came up. Because one thing I will teach you guys is how to control your time, okay? Because you have to be strict with your time in this program, okay? It's just like some people say, oh, I can't go to that seminar because of this. Well, one of the things you're going to do next week is plan out July 1st to June 30th. Because for the next 12 months, I need you to determine, when are you going to go on vacation, right? Which workshops are you planning to put in there? Okay. Now, this is a working document, right? Even though it's going to be in printed form, right? You got to have it planned out. If you say, well, I don't know if we want to go to, Europe this Christmas because, we don't know if we'll have the money. Or I don't know if I can take that time off because I might be busy. Well, see, with your schedule, which came first? You don't know if you have an appointment. You don't know if you can afford it. Don't worry about that. Think about, hey, what do you want? Right? So here's one thing I will teach you is like, I want you to figure out the type of lifestyle or the type of life that you want, right? How much vacation time do you really want? And I suggest at least 6 to 8 weeks a year. Okay. In our program, it's 6 to 8 weeks minimum, right? So if you're not taking vacations, we're going to have a conversation, right? Because, now you might say, well, because I don't have the money. Well, then we need to put, the horse before the cart, right? Then we need to figure out, okay, how come you can't afford it? Well, what have you been doing the last couple of months, the last couple of weeks, right? So on a weekly basis, right? WEEK, you're gonna turn in your numbers. On a daily basis, for some of you, what are some of your numbers at the end of the day, right? Because we have to be intentional, right? I'm looking for like 5 to 10 serious people. That's it, okay? But we will dwindle down because we're going to figure out who's really that serious. Like I said, you can continue with this program just by listening or watching or participate in your own way. Totally fine. But bottom line is, this is meant for someone who wants to take an additional 5 to 12 listings in the next 12 months, minimum. Okay. So I'm looking at the some of the groups here. I don't think anyone has taken 12 listings in the last 12 months, right? That's that. Some may have taken five or so, or between 5 and 12, but no one, I don't think yet in our group here, who's taken at least 12 listings in the last 12 months. Yeah, right. So it would be a new experience for some, right, or for all, right. Now the question is, are you committed to doing that, right? And can you handle 12 listings? Can you handle 2, 3, 4 listings at a time, right? For some people, they go crazy when they have one listing or two listings, right? I want to create a system for you to where you can handle those things, right? And at Intero, we have that system to support you, right? To where you can have a couple listings, a dozen listings at one time, even, and the office will support you in that, right? We have the MITs to help you. All right. So, first thing, I need you guys to figure out your perfect day, right? Second thing, homework. I want you to plan out your whole week. what does your week look like, right? Like where do you spend your Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays? So for now, Mondays for at least the next 3 months, July, August, September, we're meeting Mondays 9 to 12 for at least the next 10 to 12 weeks, right? So put that on your calendar, right? If you're on vacation, just let me know. Like some people are on vacation right now. Totally fine. You are afforded to have a vacation, right? The thing is when you're on vacation, does your business stop or does your business, continue? Right? Okay. Um, and if for some reason you can't make the class, right? It'll be recorded, it'll be uploaded by the end of the day, and you can listen to it, right? But bottom line, there's only three key things I need you guys to do, right? Three key things. Figure out how you're going to find people to talk to, right? Right. We're going to talk about, different ways to find people, right? And number two, develop the skills to help them, right? However, there's many trainings. There's a lot of online training that I'll expose you guys to that you can do on your own, right? And of course, number three is be committed to your success, right? That's it, right? Those are the main thing, right? You want to be successful? I can show you the way, right? But you have to put in the work, right? You want to get fit? Hire a trainer, right? But of course, the trainer can only tell you what to do, right? Kind of push you. But bottom line is you have to do the work, right? Go into the gym by a certain time, do the work, right? Because one thing we will teach you is how to develop discipline, right? One of my affirmation is discipline. I love the results, right? Right? Because again, this when you're disciplined, when you develop discipline, you have good habits. Yeah, habits, right? Mm-hmm. Discipline develops habits, right? Hopefully, they're good habits. Right? Remember, you cannot get rid of bad habits. You can only replace them with better ones. The bad habits is always there. Like they say, alcoholic or someone who smokes is always there. They can always, fall off the wagon, right? So to speak. But if they have better habits, right, better goals, then they may not drink or smoke or whatever vices you might have, right? Okay, right? So just understand this. It's about discipline every day, right? Like waking up every morning at a certain time, that requires discipline, right? Like how many of you guys wake up to an alarm clock? I still have mine, but most of the time I wake up before. If it rings at least an hour, like half an hour to an hour, I get up already. That's my practice. I don't try to get 15 more minutes, right? Or 30 more minutes. It just tires you trying to get back to sleep. If you fall back to sleep, like after you go to the bathroom, you go back to bed and you sleep, fine, right? Your body will tell you, right? We got to listen to our body, right? Okay. Like I always tell you guys, I need you guys to take a yearly physical exam. I need to know what is your blood pressure, right? Because we don't want you, working all hard, right now, making all that money, and then someone else is going to enjoy your money. Unless that's your plan, then that's good for you, right? But bottom line is, I want to live long enough to enjoy the money that I earn, right? I've told our kids, don't expect any money from us, right? We'll teach you how to do it. We taught them how to buy rentals and all that, right? Buy their own houses, right? That's how we teach them, right? Yes, we're going to leave them something, but we tell them, don't expect anything, right? So make sure you save, you invest, right? Um, again, that's what we do. So now we're buying experiences with our family, right? You spend time with people you like and love, right? Right? That's what we do, right? It's all about experiences, right? And you have to make memorable experiences. That's the key, right? So homework number two is the weekly schedule, right? So I'll give you guys some examples of that. Okay. And the third thing is I want you guys to work on that 5 pillars of happiness. Remember that one, right? This is on the emails that I've sent you guys called the 5 pillars of happiness. I need you guys to figure out really what are you going to do with the money that you're going to earn, right? Okay. And that's a challenge for some. It's like when I tell them, what's your next vacation? See, that has to be in your mind already. Yeah, it might be 5 years from now, but you got to have something to go after, right? And that's why I always taught you guys, if you don't have anything to go after, how am I going to create your motivation? Your motivation is internal, unless you make something external, right? I'm going to help you with the external part, but I can't help you with your desire, interior desire, right? That burning desire to succeed. That's going to be up to you, right? Okay. Remember, the money we earn just gives us options. That's all it does, right? I'm going to show you guys some agent interviews from some retreats that we've attended, right? Some of them you can find on YouTube, right? There's, one of the things I told you guys before is to buy YouTube Premium, $14 a month, or if you're in a group, it's like $6 a month, right? If you split the cost for a family plan, because so that way you don't have commercials. You're wasting your money, you're wasting time if you're watching commercials. Unless you like commercials, right? But understand this, right? It's a waste, right? Like I have Prime Video, so I pay for extra, I think it's $5 to have no commercials on most of the what on most of the shows. So it helps, right? Uh, you know, so again, it's up to you where you spend that time. I'm not watching a lot of TVs, right? It's recorded, so when I have time, that's when I do it. Like when you're on an airplane or something, right? Okay, you catch up, right? But here's the thing: in your day, do you have at least 8 to 10 hours that you can devote to real estate, right? At least 8 to 10. And I always said I need 5 hours, right? Remember that? 5 hours on three key activities. Mm-hmm. I need 5 hours every day. I don't care if you're part time, full time. I need 5 hours, right? 5 hours on three key activities. One activity is okay, prospecting. Yes. What's the other two?
Skill building.
Skill building.
Yeah.
And
Market research.
market research, right? You need to know your stats, right? Every day you need to log on to the MLS. That's the first thing I usually do when I get into the office or when I wake up, right? Or not necessarily when I wake up, but when I turn on my laptop, what active listings came up? Like, where did the listings come up in my cities, right? There's 5 zip codes I pay attention to, right? So I get an alert or I get a report that says how many listings happen, and I'll show you that how to do that on our MLS. Is very simple. I'm going to show you in Paragon, but some of you guys who are in MLS listings, you can do the same thing. You just have to ask them how to do it. Okay, but it's very simple. You just got to see what listings happened when I was sleeping. Okay, because we're going to talk about just listed, just sold calls and door knocks. Okay, because that's where we're going to get most of our business from. Okay, because usually when one listing comes up, usually within the next 30 to 69 days, another one's going to come up within 500 homes in an area. Within a half a mile, there's usually another one that's coming up on the market. And that's like continuous. Okay. So whenever that's how we're going to need to figure out which areas have that turnover, right? Because there are some areas that people don't move very often, and we don't really want to market to those areas, right? We need to market to areas that move, right? Like Brent works in San Carlos. I know a little bit about San Carlos. There are some areas where there's not a lot of movement, but there are some areas there is a lot of movement, and you need to figure out where those areas are. Okay. And again, how do you know if a fruit is ripe? We got to test it out. So just because no one has moved in the area within the last 12 months doesn't mean they're not getting ready to all move, right? So we have to meet the people, right? So that's one of the things that we're going to need to do is for you to figure out an area that you want to market to. I talk about farming, but we're not going to do what we call the traditional farming. I want you guys to have an area where you want to focus on trying to get future listings, right? This is an area where you say, okay, I want future listings here. I'm willing to devote time here, a couple hours a week, you know, so that way I can get future listings. You got to have that base. Okay. I feel you got to have that base. Okay. That you can visit at least once a week, spend a couple hours there meeting people, right? I'm not going to tell you guys to blindly mail. I don't believe in that unless you have the budget. Okay. And that's something that we're going to need to discuss on an individual basis. I only teach you guys to mail to people you've met or plan to meet, right? Like this weekend, one of our clients, they had their housewarming parties, right? Guess what? I got 3 more of the relatives now get to add on my newsletter, right? Oh, because why? They introduced us as this is our realtor. Yeah, they got us this, so they're happy, right? Okay. If you're not being invited to a housewarming party, at least 50% of the time, you guys are not keeping in touch enough, right? So if I sold Vikas a home today, and then within the next 6 months, he doesn't hear from me, he he probably will not invite me to his housewarming unless there's something memorable that I did, right? But guess what? If after closing, I say, hey, because your house the moving going, right? Is there anything you help? Need help? Hey, by the way, when's your housewarming party? Right? You got to give hints of what you want, right? Okay. Then eventually they'll become your friends and they'll invite you, right? You will get invited to birthday parties, right? Things like that, right?
Hmm.
That's what you want because hey, your clients will become your friends unless that's not what you want. If you don't want to be invited to these parties, then we have to talk about some other ways to increase your database because it's all about increasing your database, right? It's increasing the people that know us, right? People that we know. How do we keep in touch with them? That's the key, right? So, next thing I need you guys to figure out is, what database system are you going to use, right? Your CRM. Some of you guys are using Follow Up Boss or Rev, perfectly fine, right? What I want you guys to be able to do, like I'm using Top Producer still, although I'm looking to remove to Referral Maker, okay, because I'm seeing some things that I like. What your database system has to do, and your phone could be your database system, okay. All you got to have is information to where you can put uh, data about your clients, okay, like who are they married to, what's their birthdays, how many kids do they have, what are the kids names. You got to have that information somewhere. So if I call Maribel, I'll say, hey, how's your husband, right? Eventually I'm going to say, hey, how's JR doing, right? Okay. Eventually I need to find out, what does JR mean? Right? Or eventually, who are their brothers and sisters? By the way, do you have family in the area? Right? You're going to need to figure that out because you need to find out, who else do they know? Right? Where did they move from? And just because they live in Rockland, like one of the people we met, doesn't mean I'm not going to market to them because I may see them in another party or something, or they might think of me in case they need a realtor, in case they don't have a realtor in mind. Right? Remember, we'll touch on the 32 touch point system that we have, right? But bottom line is, you need to be able to uh, keep track of these people's information. Okay, so
Hmm.
by July 1st, right, you should have one already, right? And I'm gonna um, take a survey of what people are using, and then we'll share that information so you guys know which one you may want to use. You like I said, you can use, there are many: Constant Contact, Survey Monk, not Survey. What's the other one? There's many other CRMs. Okay. But bottom line is, you want something to where you can, keep track of people's information. Okay. And what you want to be able to do is pull that information out. Right. Okay. So your daily schedule, right? Your weekly schedule, right? What does your week look like? Because some of you guys, like I said, right now it's summer, right? So some of you guys may have kids, right? That you have to deal with, or later on, when the school year starts, your schedule is going to be different, right? Because you have to pick them up or something, right? Bottom line is, do you have the 5 hours per day, right? And that's where you have to figure out that time, right? 1 hour of skill building, 1 hour of market research, 3 hours of prospecting. Those are the minimums that we're gonna work out of, right? Because like in those 3 hours of prospecting, what did you do, right? Okay. And then of course the 5 pillars. All that is so that way you can see what you're working so hard for.
What was the full name for that? Five pillars of
Five
what?
pillars of happiness, right? Okay. Um, so again, all that is what are you going to do, right? Places you want to visit, things you want to buy, right? When do you want to buy your next rental, right? How much do you need, right? So start planning for those things. When's your next vacation? How much it's going to cost? When do you want to do it, right? If you plan for something, do you have a higher likelihood of achieving it than if you didn't,
Hmm.
right? That's simple, right?
Yeah.
Because everything starts with a thought. Right? This not thoughts, right? Thoughts into words, right? So now you have to say it. I want this, right? I'm going to do this, right? Once the words come out, now you got to walk the talk, right? Thoughts into words into actions. Now you got to walk it, right? Do you know how much it's going to cost? Have you even done the research, right? Because I want to go to Hawaii. When? I don't know. When I get the money. See, figure out how much money do you need. Now you know how much money. Now, do you need to know how you're going to earn that money? And of course, number four equals results, right? It's achievement, right? It's all about the achievement, right? Once you achieve it, go to the next stop. What's next, right? So in that pillars, right, there's only 50 that's in there, right? I'm going to challenge you to do more than the 50 that's on there, right? To at least be 100. Because you got to figure out, really, what do you want to do with your time and money, right? Because for some people, it's okay. I learned this before. We are what we call goal achievers, right? As human beings, we are built to achieve, right? The problem is we don't know what to achieve, right? Like you want to cure cancer, you got to go after it, right? What do you want to achieve in your lifetime? You know, what trips do you want to take, right? Some of us are getting up in age now, right? I just found out one of my friends, he's 59, he just died. Like, wow, right? That's very young, right? I plan to live at least 100. Brent, what do you think? Is that a good number? Right? So also I see on the phone, Tinasha, 100, is that a good number? I don't know. I don't know what your number is. Maybe it's higher. Maybe Brent's number is higher, right? Whatever that number is. So here's the thing: work like you live forever, right? But live like it's your last day. Have you guys heard of that before? Right? Okay. Like for some, see, who are the young people, right? I don't see your pictures, right? Like Blaze, right? He's 30 yet?
No.
Not yet, right? Blaze not even 30, right? I don't know who else is under 30 in this group, right? Yeah, I remember when I was that age, like, wow, right? Right. But now, I'm double his age. Like, oh my goodness, right? So here's the thing, right? You gotta figure out what do you want to do. See, when you're young, hey, earn as much as you can, or at least start to earn more so you can invest better, right? That's all it is, right? But hey, you know, um, it's up to you what you're going to do with the money. But bottom line is you can earn a lot and invest. And in our training, my career organization primarily is the base that I will teach you guys on. Because to me, Mike has always taught me to think big. Right? Like when I first met him, he asked me like, when do you want to earn your first million? Right? After you earn that money, what do you want to do? Like, open up an office, right? All of that. It's journaling, right? One day I'll show you guys, my another journal I found. It's like, setting goals. It's like, hey, this is what I wanted to do. Your office of the future. What does it look like, right? How do you want to do your business? Do you really want to do 25 to 50 deals? You know, since Brent has his camera on, I asked him, right? Do you really want to do 25, 50, right? And I asked this of everybody because at some point, most people will only do enough to pay the bills. Maybe a little bit more, right? Most people are only willing to work less than 8 hours a day. 8 hours pays the bills. I always said, right? 8 hours, like anyone else, pays the bills. 8 to 10 will make you some extra money. 10 to 12 is when you start to earn a lot of money. After 12, and here's the thing, it's not you working 12 hours, it's you multiplying yourself. Okay. So when you get to that 12 hours, you better have an assistant, right? You better not be doing some of the work that you're doing when you were just doing 8 hours. Okay. Because you need to be able to multiply yourself. Because when you go on vacation, something's happening. Like some people couldn't go to the Mike Ferry last week because they said, I'm too busy with my work. Well, guess what? That may be valid for some time, but what if that was a trip that you had planned for Europe? You're going to be gone for a month in Europe. Like one of our top agents, Angela, she's taking, I think, 6 to 8 weeks in Europe because she's doing the Camino walk. Can you afford to go? Imagine going away for 6 to 8 weeks. How's your business going to be when you come back? Right? How did you set up your business when you come back? Are you going to be a new agent again, or is things happening? Kajol, one of our top agents, I challenged her one year. She took, I think, 3.5 months off, right? And I told her, I need you to do this. Because some people, I've suggested hiring nannies or house cleaners, yard, someone to do your yard work. Bottom line is, where is your highest dollar productive activity? Where do you think that is? Your highest dollar productive activity? Anyone?
You're like,
Door knocking? Yeah.
Generation, right?
Lead generation? Presentation. Right? Face to face.
presentation.
Right? That's where your most dollar productive time is, right? It's face to face.
Yeah.
Your second is looking for them. Right? Okay, the prospecting, right? The door knocking, okay? Because nothing happens without door knocking. I mean, without prospecting. Can we agree?
Mm-hmm.
You want to make more money? What do?
Prospect.
Talk to more people,
That's
right?
right.
Prospect. That's it, right? Talk to more people. You want to go in Hawaii next quarter? Talk to more people, right? You want to go to Europe for a month? Talk to more people, right? Can we agree that that's the number one problem solver is talking to more people? Zoom world, what do you think? You guys can put a thumbs up if you want, right? But that's basically what it is. Let's see what the chat looks like, right? Okay, heart. Okay, all right. Okay, so just remember, nothing happens without a conversation. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you cannot get a referral without talking to someone. Can we agree?
Yes.
Right? Someone says, "Oh yeah, I can." I just post on social media. That's the same thing. You're still communicating, right? Okay. But bottom line is, we are in a business where we have to make outbound calls, right? We have to make calls out there, right? We have to do just listen, just sold conversations, right?
Mhm.
It's very simple, right?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So now here's where we're gonna test you guys later is how many of you guys actually know the Mike Ferry scripts, right? Right. Mike Ferry says there's only 7 scripts you really need to know, right? Right. Again, so some of you may not even need to know the 7, but at the very least, you should know the 7 because all the questions that's or the dialogues that's in those 7 scripts. Okay. You guys have access to these scripts. It's on the email this morning, right? Okay. Okay. What are the 7 scripts? Someone asked, right? Right. Number 1 is the expired script. Start with that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Second is the for sale by owner. Why those two? Because those are the most motivated sellers that's out there. These people said, "Hey, I wanted to sell, but my house didn't sell. I'm looking to sell, but I don't have an agent, or I may not want an agent if it's a right, right." Expired for sale by owners are 1 and 2. The questions you ask a for sale by owner expired can be asked of a COI, you know, someone that you know, your mom, right? You, there are questions there that you need to ask. Okay. Remember, when you're talking to your family members, you treat it like it's a business transaction initially, right? So that's how they see this. That's how they got to see you. This is a business transaction, okay? Because they need to see you as a professional, right? Okay. That doesn't mean you're robotic, but you need to act like a professional, right? So, expired for sale by owners. Number 3, just listed, just sold, right? This is basically a general prospecting. Why do we want to prospect around listings and sales? Because we know within 30 to 90 days, there's usually another deal that's going to come up. So we need to jump on that market beforehand. Okay. We may not get the next one, but we're certainly going to get the second or third one if we know what areas are moving. Okay. Right. We need to know in each city where people are moving, right? In and out of. Okay. There are some areas where there's a lot of listings coming up, and there's a lot of areas where buyers want to move into. So that's why you need to prospect to where we have a buyer, right? Because sometimes there are listings where, remember, why are we focusing on listings? Because nothing happens without listings. A buyer cannot buy a house unless there's a house for sale,
It's more
Mm-hmm.
leverage too, right?
right? Yeah. Okay. Leverage your time and okay, your activities, right? Everything starts with a listing, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That's right.
Okay. So, all right. So I have a question for you. Do you want to be a listing agent or a buyer agent?
Listing agents.
You say that, but do you really want to? Do you know what it takes to become a listing agent? Right?
Absolutely.
Right. So that's the question we would have for you: is do you want to become a great listing agent? Right. And the first thing is you need to say to yourself, you are a great listing agent, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I go to San Carlos and say, Brent, what are you? He's gonna say, I'm a great listing agent, right? Okay, or at least I'm a great salesperson, right? That's one of your affirmations, right? So I want you guys to go around your office. You guys know who you are, right? In your offices here, right? Understand that, hey, when you ask them, hey, John, who are you? What are you? Right? It has to be something positive, right? To where you know who you are. Because here's the thing: We are who we identify as. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't think you're a great listing agent, then you're not identifying with that. So I need you to identify, who you want to be, right? So your affirmations. So next homework is I need you to figure out your top 10 affirmations, right? Top 10 sentences. Remember, we all have affirmations. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We all talk to ourselves every day. Yeah. Because that's what affirmations are, right? Self talk. The question is, are they good ones or bad ones? Like when you're running late, what do you always say? I'm always running late, usually, right? Well, guess what? You just repeated something that you don't want to be. Yes, that's who you want to be, right? Right? Like in our culture, 1 hour is being on time. If you're 1 hour late, you're on time, right? No, no, no. If you're on time, you're late, right? That's why I'm usually the first one to events because I like to be on time, right? But understand this, right? It's just that's just an attitude, right? It's a mindset. So one thing we're going to talk about is your mindset, right? So 4 words, right? We talked about some other words earlier. You guys write these things out. If not, you better watch the recording, right? So 4 more words for today. We're going to work on your mindset, right? Because everything starts with thought, right? Right. Your skills. We're going to work on your skills, right? Because without the proper mindset, like I want to become a top agent, right? You're not going to work on your skills, right? Your skills, right? Number 3, your activity, right? And number 4, your goals, right? Okay. So those 4 things we're going to work on, right? Mindset, right? Um, mindset, skills, your activity, and of course your goals, right? Goals are just your results. It's just another word for results, right? Okay. So we're going to play with words. Like people say, I don't like to prospect. Okay. Do you like to talk to people? That's the same thing. You say, I don't like to talk to people. Okay.
You like to make money.
So we're going to get down to the bottom thing, right? Okay. Bottom line is this business is about talking to people, right? You want to earn money, you got to talk to people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Start with, like I said, start saying hello to everyone that you see, right? Just practice it. You go to Safeway,
Mm-hmm.
Costco, just say hello. Start with that. How are you?
Oh yeah.
Right? And when you're there, start wearing your Intero gear, your real estate gear. They'll start to remember you. And then they can say, oh, they know it. There's, I would say half the people out there know Intero real estate. Okay? If they ever thought about real estate, they know who Intero real estate is. Okay. Now, if you identify with Intero real estate, people will think, oh, you're in real estate. You're a realtor. Guess what? That's open conversation. Remember, we do not bring up real estate in our conversation, right? It's personal first. How are you? How's your day going?
Mm-hmm.
How long you been working here at Lucky's, right? Get to know them first, okay? Don't say, hey, by the way, I'm in real estate. How are you doing? No, real estate. They already know I'm a realtor, right? I have my name badge. You guys have name badges,
Yes.
right? Don't be a secret realtor, right? Secret agent. We're in the wrong business, right? You want to be a secret agent? Go contact, the president, right? Um, okay, you want to become an agent that's known out there, right? So when you leave the house, do you live or do you look like a realtor?
Mm-hmm.
So what? Let's see. Brent looks like he's in his house, right? He's in his kitchen, right? Right. So unless that's your home office, right? Okay. So when he leaves his house, right? Does he say, "I want business"? Right? Right. When I went to the housewarming party, I wanted business, right? I haven't have my name badge or my shirt, although sometimes I do that, right? If or I had an appointment or something, but yeah, but I look professional, right? And I engage people. So how do you know so and so, right? Remember at a party, right? I don't know many people. If they haven't introduced me, I'm gonna say, "Oh, how are you? My name's Greg." I'm not saying, "Hey, my name's Greg. I'm the realtor that sold the house." I don't say that. I'm just saying, "Hey, my name's Greg." How do you know? You know, uh, Jamie. Yesterday it was Ben and Lori. So how do you know them? Oh, we work together. Oh, that's my sister, my brother-in-law. Oh, really? Right? Oh, okay. How long you been? Her sister-in-law. Okay. Okay. You got to make sure you ask good questions, right? And usually it's who, what, where, and why, right? How do you know them? Oh, do you guys live in the area? Right? Oh, you guys live in Rockland. Oh, good. Yeah, do you guys own? Yeah. I mean, it will get into real estate, right? And usually, like I said, if most people are gracious enough to introduce me, but if that, you know, there's gonna be a lull in that moment. Like, so now I have to go out there and talk to people. And it's as simple as saying, "Hi, how are you?" Right? And then, so how do you guys know so and so? Right? Simple. How do you guys know Ben? How do you guys know Lori? Right? Oh, you guys work at Oracle together. Oh, great. Are you guys in the same department? Remember Ford,
Yeah,
right? FORD,
yeah.
friends and family, occupation, recreation, and dreams, right? So depending on what they say will determine, where my conversation is going to go. If they bring, oh, we work together. Oh, great. Where do you guys work? What do you guys do together? Yeah, right? I'm not going to go, oh, so I'm doing, oh, so what do you guys do for fun? Not yet, right? It depends where that conversation is going to go, depending on what they say, right? They determine where that conversation is going to go, right? Okay.
Training scripts.
Okay.
You mentioned 3.
I'll
Oh,
finish that up,
okay,
right?
thank
So
you.
right. So you got the expired for sale by owner, just as it just sold. The fourth one is the what?
The Ford.
Yeah, the fourth one, right?
Ford.
Nope. The fourth one is your COI script,
Huh?
your circle of influence, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. That's your fourth one, right?
Oh, is that
Circle of influence, your fourth, which is we build on the fourth, right? So it's your fourth script. Okay. The fifth one is your pre-qualification. Remember, we're focused on listings, right? Okay. The sixth one is your 1 minute presentation, right? Your 1 minute listing presentation. You guys should know that. It's 3 questions, right? And then the last one is your pricing presentation, your full CMA presentation, right? That's with regards to the Mike Ferry scripts, right? So the just listed is basically 7 questions, right? Right? Right. The just as you just sold are like 10 or 12 questions, right? Okay. So you should have those mastered or at least have an idea what they are, right? So in one of my classes next week, I think I'm teaching it again. It's called the language of real estate. Okay. Truly believe you need to learn what to say. You need to have the words, right? So how do you master the words? Number one, you got to say it. So you take the ten just listed, or excuse me, the expired script, right? There's 10 questions, okay, or 12. Chant it 10 times in the morning. Chant it means read it out loud, right? Because we have to put it into memory, right? If I say, I don't know if I ask Zoom World, right? 10 plus 10 is
20.
now, did you guys say 10, 11, 12, 13? Did you do that or did you do it from memory? When I do 10 times 30, is that from memory or is it an actual calculation? 10 times 30.
300.
What is it?
300.
300, right? Did you do a calculation in your head, Brent, or was that from memory? What do you
Just
think?
in the head, right?
Right? Just what?
Just in the head.
Yeah, it's in your head, right? It's memory, right? So if I say 20 times 20, now if I say 231 times 231, you guys, that's something you don't, some of you guys are like, oh, I need to do some calculations now, right? But for most of the time, the things we do are from memory. Driving from house to the office is memory. Some of you guys, GPS still. Okay. All right. You're still using Waze. Okay. But bottom line is a lot of things we do is from memory. Are we agree? Right? So how do we put things in memory?
Practice.
Practice,
Repetition.
repetition. It's repetition, right? They say to be good at something, to be great at something, you need to do it 10,000 times. You guys heard that number? Or 10,000 hours? Okay. There's that stat out there. Okay. To be great or to start to be going from good to great, you got to do things 10,000 times or 10,000 hours, right? Okay, it doesn't have to be that much because you just got to do it faster, sooner, right? Okay. Anybody Catholic here on the call? If you're Catholic, right, we have prayers, right? How long does it take you to learn some of those prayers, right? Sometimes it's quicker than others, right? But yet it's all through repetition. Can we agree?
Mm-hmm.
Everything is a learned process, right? Cooking, learn, right? You learn by doing. This is what I call on the job training. All right, guys? All we do is on the job training, right? You want to learn, be a better door knocker? Go just start knocking on doors. Get those objections. Okay. At the retreat this week, we learned about failing to success. Okay. You got to fail yourself to success, right? No one's home. The next one, someone might be home, right? Who knows? The next one might be the listing that you've been waiting for, right? Okay. So when you're prospecting out there, what are you looking for?
Connection.
Leads? What are you looking for? What's your intention?
Someone to talk to.
Potential
Someone to
lead.
talk to. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Leads, right? Better. What are you looking for? Zoom world, what do you think? What are you looking for when you go out there?
Anyone who has a need or a service.
Yeah. All right, good. Appointments. Thank you, Bria. Right? You're looking for appointments, right? Right? That's the key, right? We're prospecting for appointments. You get what you're looking for, right? So now you could be saying, I'm looking for people to talk to. Great. That's good. But the most important thing is we're looking for appointments, right? So you got to be ready to set that appointment. Because if we're not ready to set that appointment, okay, let's work that backwards, right? How do we set the appointment? How you talk about it, right? Finding a need. How do we find the need?
We ask them the right questions.
Asking them questions, right?
Questions.
Better questions, right?
Yeah.
Okay. To see if there's a need. Or how do we uncover that? By offering, okay, we talk about the fair trade items. What do you have you can give them? Right? But bottom line is we need to ask better questions. Right? And it all starts with okay, so we're not gonna go to the expired and for sale owner script right now, okay? Let's look at the Mike Ferry just listed, just sold script. Because to me, that's what you have to master, right? Okay. Some of you guys, you might have it on your screen or on your paper. That's good. Let's try to do it from memory, right? What is the first question on a just listed, just sold script or even the just listed script? What's what we call the magic question? Zoom roll, you can put in. What's the first question on just listed script? No?
Did you happen to see that property that
No.
your name's?
What's the magic question? We always talk about
How are you doing?
who do you know, right? Is who do you know, right? Who do you know that might be interested in this property, right? Okay. Or who do you know? Because remember, everyone has a what we call a reflex no, right? They say there's always a reflex no, right? That's why we don't ask about them first. Ask about somebody else first, right? Because everybody say, "Oh, I'm interested in selling." Well, that's great, right? By the way, who do you know, right? Okay, so that's what we call the magic question: is the who do you know? Ask about someone else. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's see. What the hell? Okay. All right. So who do you know, right? And then the next question is, my favorite script is, since the justice is just sold, what is it? Yeah, when do you plan on moving? Okay, so let's look at that, right? When do you plan on moving, right? Is it when do you plan on moving or when do you plan on selling,
Well, for just listed, when do you plan on moving?
right? Okay. Now, it's up to you if you want to use selling, moving, right? To me, have you considered making a move now in the near future? Right? That's my script. Have you guys have any thought about possibly moving in the next few years? Right? Not when do you plan on moving? And you can say when do you plan on moving? It's up to you. I like to ask what we call open-ended question instead of yes, no. Right? When, right? Okay, so figure that out, right? Okay. Which one do you guys want to use, right? So you can use when you plan moving. Great, good, right? Next question is,
How long have you lived here?
how long have you lived here, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is a song. How long have you lived here? Next.
If you were to move, where would you be?
Yeah, if you were to move, where would you go next, right?
Yeah. How soon would that be?
Okay. All right. Before that, you guys missed a couple of questions.
Where would you go?
Okay. The question is, when do you plan on moving? How long have you lived at this address? Next question.
How did you happen to pick this neighborhood?
Yeah. How'd you happen to pick this neighborhood, right? How'd you happen to pick this area, right?
Mhm.
Okay. And then what?
If you were to move,
If you were to move,
where
where would you go next? And when do you see that happening, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Remember that question of how do you guys happen to pick this area,
Mhm.
right? It opens up a lot of um, things for them. Why do we ask these questions? To get them talking.
Yeah.
Why do you want them talking? They become more comfortable. When they're more comfortable, they become more open. Yeah. And if people try to shut us down, that's okay. That means they have no need. Yeah.
Mhm.
So if they have no need, do we want to keep talking to them?
No.
Not necessarily, right? Okay. So now, eventually, we need to learn how to close better, meaning close for their number, close for their information, close for the next follow up, right? And this is where you need to have what we call fair trade items. What do you have you can give them, right? If they say, oh, I have no plans of moving, they try to shut you down. Great. By the way, okay, this is what we call the Columbo clause. By the way, BTW, right? By the way, have you heard about this? Did you know about this? Would you like some information about this? Okay. By the way, are you thinking of doing any work in the house? Would you like some contractor referrals? If you ever do, please reach out, right? Or okay. By the way, have you thought about what? Okay, you talked about making improvements. Have you thought about maybe putting an ADU? Have you thought about what renting out the property?
Mhm.
Have you thought about buying another rental property? So whatever that by the way that comes after, you have to figure that out. What can you build from there? All right.
Roof inspection.
Yeah.
What's
By the way, when was the last time you had your fireplace cleaned? By the way, when was the last? By the way, how old is your roof? Yeah. I'm curious. How old is your roof? Right? When was the last time you had that checked? Right. When was the last time you had checked for termites? Right. Remember, if a termite is in the neighborhood, they'll be in the neighborhood for a while. They don't. You don't kill one in one house, they jump into the next house. They're in the neighborhood. Right. So when was the last time you had property inspected?
Mhm.
Okay? By the way, when was the last time you had your water tank, your hot water tank flushed? Right?
Yeah.
Do you guys have a list of things that homeowners should do every year? Chat GPT that. Right? Okay, maybe not 10, maybe five. Right? Whatever list you have, top three things every homeowner should do every year. You guys use Chat GPT?
Yes.
Mhm.
Right? So these are some of the ideas we come across. Like, okay, now you can put down your flyer. Hey, by the way, do you know what the top 10 colors are for this year? What are the top 10, remodeling? I mean, ChatGPT, guys, right? Okay. AI, right? AI is good as long as you know how to use it, right? Just ask questions. That's all it is. Now, remember, AI is not 100% correct. Okay. It's just a guide. Okay, everybody? Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So now you know what scripts you need to learn. The most important thing is you need to know your prospecting script. What is your prospecting script, right? So the next thing I need to figure out is where are you going to get your deals, right? Remember, there are three main ways to communicate, right? Face to face,
Mhm.
on the phone, or print, right? Okay. Face to face is usually the least expensive, usually, right? Takes time though. Or to me, it's the most effective, right? And face to face is not just door knocking. Doing open houses, yes, that's face to face, but it's the prospecting around the open house, right? So it's all about some ideas there in the future, okay? Now, when we're talking about face to face, this could be networking activities. How many of you guys belong to other groups, like like a PTA, if you have kids, right? Or some group, like which was it?
My dance community in
Okay,
Rome.
dance community, right? That's great.
Where they
Yeah.
meet like once in 2 months or
Yeah.
so.
So whatever, you guys think about some community groups you guys can join. Remember, think of things you like to do and then figure out how to do business in them. Right? I tease Mary all the time. She likes to throw parties. figure out how to do business there, right? You can't do business. Like I said, we had one lady, all she did was throw a party once a week. I mean, once a month. And that was her 2 or 3 deals every year. I mean, every month was from that party,
Where did
right?
she throw those?
At her house or different venues, right? Maribel, has a white party that we're all trying to get into, right? But that's her clients, right? So again, it's that you can throw a white party, right? I've been invited to a white party. You know what they were before, like white party, like it's fun, right? Everybody wears white per se, right? Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So again, whatever it is, right? You get invited if you want to. You get in that circle, right? And again, you're not there as a real estate agent. You're there to help, to enjoy the atmosphere or to be that event. But they're gonna need to know eventually who you are, right? So, but again, there are ways to generate business. So it's up to you. Where is your comfort zone? And sometimes we have to get out of that comfort zone. Now, the phone, to me, the phone is not the best on the first contact. Although we have some people that are cold calling, right? Doing just so calls and are successful with it. Right. I just, don't see that now. But eventually my second contact is always by phone, right? Phone or text, right? Okay. And the third way of print is sometimes can become expensive. But although some of you guys do very good with social media, it doesn't cost money, right? Right. Totally fine. But bottom line is it working for you? If something you're not getting enough business from it, you need to do something to improve it or do something else. Right. But if that's where your comfort is, keep doing that and figure out a way to make it better. Right. Because there are some people that are doing good on social media. Right. I know people that post once a day on social media. That's just not me. So if that's you, then let's help you, do that better because we have resources too. Right.
Mhm.
Okay. I know Blaze, you guys follow Blaze, right? Okay. Get some of these ideas, right? Do it on your own page, right?
Jess
You
is
guys have
better.
right? Was that?
Jess is better.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Sure.
Follow Jess, right?
Yeah.
You get ideas, right? Right. They said R&D, right? What
R&D?
R&D, right? What's R&D? It's up to you what you want to call
I
it.
to recreate
Right.
it, but I
Right.
forgot what the R&D.
I might say is research and do it, right?
Yeah.
Some people is rip off and duplicate, right?
Yes,
Mm.
that's the one.
Whatever. It's research, right? And then just do it. To me, it's research and just do it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Duplicate, So it's up to you, whatever those words mean, right? But R&D something, right? Whenever I travel, I look at real estate magazines to see what other agents are doing in that area, and then try to bring it to my area, right? Okay, that's all it is. Okay, it's nothing new, right? Remember, success leaves clues, right? Success leaves clues, right? You just have to figure, can you do that, right? All right. So figure out how you're going to do your business. In our other training, we've talked about the pillars of business. Right? What are your pillars of business? You should have at least 3 to 5, right? 3 main ones. Where are you going to get your main business, right?
Mhm.
And to me, I always say you should start with your COIs, people you know. That's where the CRM really comes in.
C stand for.
Which one? COI,
I know
circle of
that's the one.
influence.
Circle,
Yeah,
okay.
instead of sphere, right?
Gotcha.
It's a circle. Same thing, right?
Yeah.
Sphere and circle.
I never heard that one.
It's
before.
fancy words, right? Yeah, yeah. Some people have make up their own words, different trainers, right? But yeah, so it's up to you, people you know, right? Because remember, there are 2 groups, right? People you know, people you don't know. Which one's bigger?
The people you don't know.
I hope it's people you don't know, right? Because if you have enough people that you know, that's great. But yet, some of us we forget about the people we know, right? You know, now it's up to you if your comfort level is there to where you can. So here's the thing, right? When we're talking to people, it's got to be personal first, social second, business is third. Okay, don't ever make your conversation be about business first, unless they're calling off a sign or something, right? They're bringing up real estate, then you continue that. But usually it's social, it's personal and social, right? When you go to events, it's usually that, right? Unless it's a real estate function, right? But still, I try to see where they're from, right? Which area do you sell, right? Okay, that's personal. Okay, um, and then you get to social. Social is just what they do for fun, right? What else they do outside real estate? Okay, like when we were in San Diego, there's an agent who was inviting some people to his boat, right? So he has events on his boat. About 20 to 30 people can fit in the boat. you know, so you can do that if you're a boater, right? You can have those type of events, right? Now we never left the dock. That's good, right? Right? Because some people get seasick, right? Um, so again, figure out what you like to do. Like, because I know some of our agents have done that. They've had events on their boats. Okay. Okay. So so figure out how are you going to generate your business, right? And then from there, because if you have some like like Maribel, she does her party. I have some ideas on that, and then she see if she can implement it, right? Or there might be some things I learned from her that I can implement somewhere else that someone else is doing, right? So just because it's for a specific thing doesn't mean you cannot do it for something else. Okay, so you get ideas from different places, right? Okay. Um, all right. So now let's focus on that today, right? What is the number one prospecting challenge that we all have, right? What do you think that is?
The limiting beliefs around it.
Yeah, self-limiting beliefs,
Mhm.
right? So tell me more about that, Jess. What do you mean by that?
Going back to the affirmation,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like some people don't like to make phone calls,
Mhm.
but if you switch the narrative or the association to it
Yeah.
and speak it positively, that's how we fix it. But I
Yeah.
think some people don't have that.
All right. Okay. So that's good. So again, it starts with thoughts, right?
Mhm.
Can you do this business? That's my question to you, right? Remember, we're trying to create a business by purpose, right? So you're in this class, so I'm assuming you think you can,
I believe I can.
right?
Yeah.
The belief has to be there. And then the knowing, I know I can, has to kick in,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because if you only think you can, right, you have to move that to where I know I can. Because there has to be a greater confidence in yourself, right? So to me, that's where do you really know what it takes to do this business, right? Can you talk to strangers? To me, it starts there, right?
Big time.
It's okay.
Right. And talking to someone you know, because this is business, that's like talking to a stranger because now it's a different realm. You know them as a friend. Okay. Now you can talk business. So there's a different sense of maybe anxiety or fear there, lack of confidence. But here's the thing, right? In this business, you can learn things, right? You can learn this business, right? It's very easy. Is real estate easy? Not always. It's simple, right? It's very simple, right? So, I don't need to know, what temperature I have to cook this, something, or I don't need to this certain temperature, or what's a good high blood pressure. I don't need to know what medicine, right? It's nothing like that, right? What's the most complicated thing a realtor really needs to know?
How to get out of their head.
How to get out of their own head, right?
Mhm.
Right? Yeah, problem solving, right? Right? You have to have some initiative. Can we agree?
Mm-hmm.
Meaning you have to know how to find the solution.
Mm-hmm.
And the solution is everywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's easy. So the business can be easy,
Mm-hmm.
but it's very simple.
Very, very
Yeah. Okay. So here's the next question. Now that you know you can't talk to strangers, do you know where to find people?
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, do you?
Anywhere.
Are you willing to find them now?
Anywhere.
Right? They're everywhere, right?
Yes, they are. You can look.
No, honestly. So no, that is the simple answer. Are they truly everywhere?
Yes, they are.
Are you sure? Okay. And are you sure you can talk to strangers?
Yes.
Because if you can talk to strangers and they're everywhere, then we should have more business then.
Yes.
So how come we don't?
It's
We
what
get out
you
of our own
say
head.
when you meet those strangers.
Okay.
Mhm.
So that's about what you say now, right?
Mhm. Yeah, let's get into that.
So okay, so what you say. All right. Do you know what to say?
Hi, how are you doing today, Greg?
I'm doing good.
Excellent. Very happy to hear that.
Great.
Yes, so we can just say that we're in Sprouts or something like
Great.
that. Yeah, so doing your little shopping again, and it's already coming back around,
Oh,
huh?
do you know how to create conversations? Right?
Mhm.
ABCs. Always be in a conversation.
Mhm.
Now, I can say, oh, I'm busy. Thanks. I can shut them down. Next, right? Next. So what? Get over it, right? So if I don't want to talk to Blaze, Blaze can say, okay, great. Next. So what? Get over it, right?
Mhm.
That's just got to be the feeling, right?
Yeah.
Okay. he asks a girl out, girl says no. Next, so what? Get over it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But who knows? The more he asks, maybe someone's gonna say yes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or if he has better skills, he's gonna say, "Oh, that's not what I'm asking." You know, because the girl might say, I'm not interested." Oh, what do you mean? With a confused look, what do you mean you're not interested, right? It's just like, oh, I'm not thinking of selling. Oh, that's interesting. That's not what I'm asking. You know, by the way, how long have you lived here, right? So you go on with the script,
Mm-hmm.
right? Okay. Of course, if they really want to shut you down, then that means they have no need for us. Yeah. But we cannot give up because when a yes is possible, we can't give up, right? A no does not mean no. But sometimes a no means a no, right? Okay. So we have to be able to distinguish when they say no, right? Yeah. Because sometimes a no is a no, it's shutting you down. Sometimes, hey, they're just saying no because they don't know what you want yet. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You know, when I was dating my wife, right? When I first met her, right? She said, how come you don't smile, Greg? Well, I thought you wanted a serious boyfriend. Some of you guys didn't get that joke. That's okay. Okay. I'll just see. This is much more fun when you guys are live with me here. Okay. See, when there's 20 people on Zoom, I don't know if you guys are laughing at my jokes or you guys are sleeping still, right? All right. So, or you have Netflix on, so I don't know, right? So here's the thing, right? Guys, life is to be lived, right? It's got to be fun, right? Okay. Did I tell you, when she says, "Hey, Greg, if you only have an hour to live, what would you do in that hour?" Yeah. I'll tell you the joke later. Right? Yeah. Yes, yes. If you only have an hour to live, what would you do with that hour? I said, I'll make love to you, right? She said, what do you do the other 59 minutes? Some of you guys got that. Some of you guys, Larry, you like that, right? Larry, see, thank you, Larry, right? Right? See, okay, I got many more jokes. Okay, later on. Okay, so now let's move on, right? So remember, real estate is fun, right? When you wake up in the morning, are you alive, awake, excited, and full of energy?
Mm-hmm.
Right? When you get up, are you excited to go out there and meet people?
Yeah.
You have to at least trick your mind to do it. Because when I say, hey, he's got $100, she's got $100, and I want it, remember, every no equals $100. Because for the 100th one, I get $10,000. That's what I'm looking for. So when I see somebody, okay, I don't see them as money, okay? That's not what this is about. It's how I trick my mind, right? It's like, hey, today I talked to 25 people. I earned $2,500 because I talked to 25 people.
Mm-hmm.
That's money I can put in the bank, right? At the end of the week, I have at least $12,500, right? At the end of the month, I got $40,000 on the bank. Can you do that?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if the math works, but bottom line is, hey, $40,000 a month I earn because I spoke to 25 people today, every single day. Is my math right? Zoom world, right? So, that's at least 10,000 a month, a week, times four, right? So that's at least $40,000 you can put in the bank, or at least 20. But bottom line is, can you talk to 25 people a day? That's where we have to get to, right? If you're at one a day, do it consistently every day. Tomorrow, next week, maybe it's 5 people per day, right? Remember, it's going to start to rain again. It's been raining sometimes, right? So weather changes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because we're going to have excuses like, oh, it's too windy, it's too cold, too hot, whatever it is. But can you, okay, for this group, right? If if Larry doesn't talk to 25 people today, what kind of penalty can we put on Larry so he does do 25 today, right? Or whoever else for Erica, right? Erica, if you don't talk to the number of people you said you're going to do, how much are you willing to give to charity or to wherever, right? To the person you don't like the most, to your neighbor, right? To where you are going to do it no matter what. Like from 9 a.m. till I go to sleep, I'm going to find 25 people, 5 days a week. right? Whatever that number is. Can you do it? If the penalty is big enough to where if you don't talk to these many people, you're willing to do something, right? We had a game before where we eat like cat food, right?
Ugh.
Right? Yeah. Some people say, you know, some cat food are pretty healthy.
That
Better
was,
than some of the dogs we get.
Wow.
Right? There's some good cat food out there, right? And I'm just okay. That's just a joke, right? Also, it is true, right? There are some great cat food out there. I've seen them, right? They're like steak. Okay. Now I don't know what's in it, but understand some people think cat food is bad, but there are some worse food out there. Okay. That's where some of you guys are probably eating. Okay. So just be careful. All right. But yeah, whatever it is, right? So that was just the one thing that we did before, like, okay, eat cat. And again, it was symbolic, right? But to where, hey, if I don't do it, this is what I'm willing. This is what I'm willing to do, right? What is that penalty for you guys, right? Because many times you go home, you don't talk to a single new person, right? Like you spoke to some friends, but you didn't talk to a single new person. You want to build your business, you need to talk to new people every day, right? Like today, I was putting gas at Costco. I at least spoke to the guy next to me, and I say, "Hey, nice car. Where did you get those tires?" Like, pay compliment. Again, I didn't get his number, you know, but we had a conversation. It's practice, right?
Hmm.
Can we actually do that? Right? Can we talk to strangers? Twinkle.
These conversations don't have to be real estate or getting information. It just needs to be conversations.
So you need conversation initially. Eventually, yes, we need to be able to get their contact info, at least 10 to 15 per day. You need to be adding to your database every day, right? This is where, hey, is it okay if I kept in touch with you? Would it be okay if I share some information about the market from time to time?
it's a good number to add to database,
At least 10. 10 to 15 is where you want to be
to add to your
to add
database.
to your database. Okay. Because you need to, okay, because if you're adding 10 people a day, that's 50 in a week, right? Times 4 weeks, right? That's what? 200 per day. I mean, per month, right? So within 5 to 6 months, you have 500 new people. If you get 10% of that, that's what? That's 50 deals minimum. Now, the question is, how well do you communicate with them, right? But here's the thing. You need to get to 1,000 within 6 months. That's my goal for you guys, right? At least 100 per month that you're adding. So that's at least 1,000 per year. If you're adding 1,000 per year, remember, you're getting rid of some of them. Some of them will be dead weight. So remember, we're going to be mailing to these people. We're calling them quarterly. They're getting a monthly email. That's our system. Okay. Monthly mailer, quarterly calls minimum, right? And once a month email, not twice a month, because remember they're getting a mailer already. So now we got to email them something once a month, right? But these are all automated, right? Some of you guys, you already have this, okay? Now we need to take it to the next level, right? Because if you have 500 people, right, and you're calling them quarterly, that's 125 per month that you have to call, right? So now you have to break that down. How many calls are you making? See, eventually, if you're not adding, because you're going to lose some, you're going to meet some at open houses, you're adding those. But some of those are not going to turn out to be something. Or some people are not going to be ready next year. They're going to be ready 5 years from now. Have you guys ever met someone and it's a couple years? Let's see. Maybe Tanasha or Larry could probably answer this. I don't know how long people have been in real estate, but these guys have been in business a while. So what was the longest time, if you remember, Larry, or even Tanasha, if you can talk, to where you met someone and it took you several years of like communication before they were ready. You guys remember? Like the
I have
longest
one
one.
now that's 2 years.
2 years? Okay, that's not that long. So 2 years to convert. Larry?
Yeah, 2.5 years.
2.5. I had one in 7 years. Okay, 7 years of contact. Okay. Now these are people that say, "Oh, I'm not really thinking of selling." I said, "Great, let's keep in touch." So quarterly calls or so, right? Eventually, I got a referral before even they sold, Okay. So again, sometimes we'll meet someone today, they're not ready for a couple years. But do I have a system to keep in touch with them to where, hey, I can get referrals from them? Or when they are ready, they will still call me, right? Because in 7 years, I'm sure they went to some open houses, they met other realtors, but none of them kept in touch enough, right? And when they were ready, they fortunately still remembered me, right? And because of my lead follow up system, that's the monthly mailer, quarterly calls minimum. I call them, I call people about at least 4 times a year, most of the time 6 to 8 times. Okay, because usually it's especially with texting now. What's the next holiday coming up?
For the
4th of July, right? And you know this year is important, right? Why?
250th
50,
Yeah, it's our
anniversary.
250th year anniversary of Independence Day, right?
Mhm.
Okay, whatever that means for everybody, right? But that's what it is, right? So 250 years, right? You know, there are some people where that's going to be your topic of conversation, right? For some people, they don't even know, right? Or they don't care, whatever it is. But there will be some people. Well, I'm just gonna say, hey, have a safe 4th of July, celebration or holiday weekend, right? That's one of the contacts. That's not a phone call. That's a text, right?
Do you use a system to blast text your database?
There is. I just do it individually, but there's a system that I can tell you. What's the one Alfredo uses? You guys know?
Hit them up.
Hit him up.
Or
Hit him up. Hit him up. Okay, hit him up. It's an app, right? You pay per. There's a package that you can hit him up.
Does it come from our number or is it like a third party number?
That I don't know. I think it comes from yours. Yeah, it comes from yours, right? Okay. I believe in just copy and paste because then I know who I'm sending it to and I can see how they have responded,
And
right?
you can also pick up from the previous conversation.
Yep.
Yeah, I like to manually do it. It takes longer.
Well, I'm thinking if
Yeah.
we're using his method of thousands of people in our database, that's a lot
Yeah.
of people.
Yeah.
So,
See, eventually, I haven't gotten to that to where I'm sending 1,000 texts a month,
oh, I see.
right?
So
Right.
you're just going to like
Yeah.
SOI
Yeah.
or
So
TPOI?
I teach a program called the ABC. So like today is what is the eighth. So you're at the eighth letter of the alphabet. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So you're at H today.
For the month.
So today H. So I'm doing the H's. And usually I think the maximum I have is like 60 on a letter. And I'll do like, copy and paste. And again, see when I do it, I see who's communicating or
Sure.
who's engaging.
Yeah.
Right.
Makes sense.
But if you just want to do like, 1,000, happy fourth,
Yeah.
you can do that.
No, I'm fine with the
But yeah.
personalized. I just
So-
was again thinking back to when you're saying keep adding people to your
Yeah.
database, and if
Yeah.
we're reaching out individually,
Yeah.
that's a lot.
Yeah. So again, when you do it, it's up to you, right? And sometimes I don't do it. I forget or I get too busy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to automate it, right? I just haven't done hit 'em up yet. I know some people have used it. I use what do you call the other one? The slide broadcast. I use slide broadcast more so, right? Um, but I'm gonna check into hit 'em up. I think someone told me Google has something. Again, it's up to us to figure out, what's out there, right? Um, and see what's available. And again, there's different technologies, right? So with AI, I don't know how this is gonna affect that, right? So again, to me, I'm just looking for engagement, right? And seeing. And some people they don't engage. I said Happy 4th of July, you know, Happy Merry Christmas, like they don't engage. That's okay, right? But we do what we do, right? And people will do what they do. And sometimes, yeah, you just have to just stop doing it on your end because you're too busy, right? Okay. But you'll see who's engaging. Okay. All right. Okay. So now it's up to you. How are you going to meet these people, right? Because if I ask you, do you have a monthly mailing system, right? Do you have a way to remind yourself to call them quarterly, right? Do you have a monthly email that you can send out that's automated, right? And at Intero, we have that, right? From the Lux portfolio one to just neighborhood news, right? Something that you can send monthly, right? And a lot of people will subscribe to the email, right? I've never had anyone say, stop sending me your newsletter. in over 30 years. Yeah. We know because I don't believe that anyone's as a real estate agent, right? In your where you guys live, do you guys get something from agents? Is any of them a newsletter?
Mm-mm.
Probably not. It's usually just listed, just sold, or I just sold this for $50 million above list price, things like that, right? Toot their own horn.
Mhm.
Remember, most people we talk to or that we're mailing to are not thinking of selling. So we have to send something that's informative. And that's where, to me, a newsletter is helpful. I used to create my own, right? But now I've showed you guys what I use, the personal marketing company. There are others out there that you can use, right? So we'll talk about that as we move forward, but you got to have something like that, right? Take into account the 30 review the 32 touch point system that we have at Intero. Right? You guys have that. So the email this morning, look at that. You have a monthly mailer, you have the monthly email, quarterly calls, right? That's already 28. And then the social media engagement. Social media engagement is just seeing what's happening with them and liking it every so often, or when you call them, hey, I see that you guys went to Europe. How was that trip? Right? It's not about, hey, just want to give you a market update. My quarterly calls, remember, it's personal first, social second, business last. I don't, Mike Ferry, in our script, right? Hey, this is a business call. Do you have a moment for me? Just want to give you a quick market update. Did you know that there's 900 homes for sale? There's 60. If people are not thinking of selling, why do they care about that? Okay. This is where my scripts are different than now. Do I do that sometimes? The market update? Yeah, but not every quarter. Maybe once every other year or something, or maybe if they bring it up, hey, Greg, how's the market? Well, right now, actually, in Union City, there's actually less than 60 homes for sale. Were you aware of that? Have you, you know, now, how do I know it's Union City? How do I know Union City stats? Because that's who I'm calling today. It's Union City clients, Union City people. Got it? Okay. I rarely give national or hey, there's 800 homes for sale in the area. I rarely do that, right? It's all about localized information. Pay attention to about 5 to 7 zip codes, 3 to 7 zip codes that you can master. Right? Like Newark, right?
Mhm.
Like Union City, North Fremont, South Hayward, Half Moon Bay. That's my market. Right?
So regardless of where you meet people in your database,
Yeah.
that's the stuff you still blast out?
Well, that's where I focus my information
Okay,
because I don't know Sacramento,
sure.
right? I have clients there, right? But maybe once a year I'll look at that number or quarterly or something. But the 5 main cities or zip codes I focus on, I know the numbers, right? Because that's where I primarily prospect, right? Okay. This doesn't mean I don't prospect, South Fremont, right? But those areas, because remember, if I'm calling, let's say clients, right? I can figure out, okay, I want everyone that's 9457, 94587 zip code. That's who I'm calling. Then I need to have those stats in case they ask me about it.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So again, know who you're calling so that we can have those stats. Okay. Now, if you don't have those stats, hey, that's a great question. I haven't checked it this morning yet. When can I call you later this weekend to give you that information? Right? Remember, it's not I never say I don't know. I don't have that information or handy with me, or what exactly about that you have a question about. Okay. I teach you guys not to say, to remove I'm sorry from your conversation. I teach you guys to remove I don't know from your conversation. You'll pop in once in a while, but do your best to get it out of your vocabulary. Right?
Mhm.
That's a great question. Tell me more about that. What did you want to know about whatever they're asking about?
Yeah.
Hey, let me get back to you. Let me confirm a couple things. What's a good time for me to reach out to you?
Yeah.
Okay. Right? Well, let me send you some information. Then we can talk further about it. Like if you've about 1031, it could be that. You may not know about 1031, but I can learn it in an hour. Right? Okay. So try to put out those things in your conversations. Okay. All right. So before we get into buyers, right? I just want to give you guys an overview for today, right? So you know what is the whole program is, right? With the mentorship program, right? For this program, it's primarily you do what I do, right? And see how much you can replicate, duplicate, how much of that you can do, how much are you willing to do? Because in our system, and you can talk to this, Tinasha, one of our managers on the call, right? Team Tracy, looks like you guys are um, here. So great. So here's the thing, right? The business is very simple. We find people to talk to, figure out how to follow up with them, and that's how we help them, right? Because when they think real estate, are they thinking of you, right? So your leadership team, if you guys are in different offices, talk to your manager. Say, hey, what systems do we have that I can keep touch with my clients? They have ideas. And then I want you to bring that to class or to me, and then we can talk about it because you might help someone or we can help you do it better, right? Like hit them up. Some people use it. Have you used it, right?
Mhm.
We've talked about that before. Some people are using it. I haven't really played around with it. Anyone on Zoom World using hit them up or looked it up? Yeah. Hit M up, okay? It's HITEM up. Okay, no, right? So some of you guys may check this out. Some of you guys eat in one ear, out the other. Okay, so but if you guys do check it out, let us know, right? So that's one, right? Like some people use the newsletter. The one that Alfredo introduced was the emailable newsletter. Some of you guys used it. Some of you guys liked it. Some of you guys didn't. I didn't like it. I stopped using it. I tried it for a couple months. Right? I've always used the personal marketing company. Right? That's something that we promote. Some of you guys have used it. Great. Some of you guys used it, stopped. We got to talk about that, right? But if you want, you got to have a monthly, to me, a mailing system to people you know. And to me, a newsletter is the best, right? And we'll talk about, if you find something different or you want to create your own, great. But to me, the newsletter is the best thing. To me, it's the best investment I've ever found, right? I've been using it for over 30 years. That's how I get referrals. That's how when I go to people's houses or people's parties or people that I know, they're the one that brings up real estate. They never ask me, "Hey, you're still doing real estate, Greg?" It's always how's the market. I never have to bring it up. All right. Okay. That's what you want. You want to make sure that everyone that you know is on that system. Everyone that they know is in that system. All right.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. So, how many of you guys use social media? Do you guys try to follow people? Like, if I meet you today, do you say, "Hey, by the way, are you on Facebook?" Do you ever ask them that? Right. You know, yeah. Ask them, "Hey, let's connect. Are you on Facebook?" Right. Everyone has a Facebook page for the most 99 over 90%. Can we agree?
Mhm.
Anyone on this call don't have Facebook? Anyone not? No? Right? Everyone has it, right? So at least you can connect, right? And that's one way for them to see who you are, what you do, right? Okay. Okay. Let me just look at the chat before I wrap up with the listings, then we'll get to a couple other things, right? So okay, perfect. Okay. Yeah, home warranty has a free newsletter. Okay. All right. That's one Fidelity, home warranty. Okay. So for listings, right? For this mentorship program, right? We are going to do door knock. So on Thursday, or in your calendar, right? If you are going to mentor me on Thursday, right? We're going to meet either here in Union City or we're going to meet at the marketing meeting in Fremont. Now, one thing I ask you guys to do is go to your local marketing meetings. Why? It's one, you need meet agents. Number two, you get to see listings, and sometimes they have good speakers, right? But number one, the reason why I want you guys to go on Thursday is because we're gonna go on broker tour. How many of you guys see houses? So part of your homework is to see 5 houses physically every day. Okay, right? 5 houses physically every day,
Mhm.
right? Hopefully, it's in a concentrated area. Okay, because we're gonna create a flyer that says exclusive buyer agents for the following properties. We're gonna preview 5 listings that are not ours, that we are the exclusive buyer agents. Is that true? So if I see 5 listings out there listed by other companies, am I going to be the exclusive buyer agents for these properties?
Yes, sir.
Am I? Remember, it's listed by other companies. So we are going to be exclusive buyer agents.
Certainly.
Are we? Okay, do you guys see this now, right? Yes? Right? Now, do we need the agent's permission to put it on our flyer? No.
No.
So we need permission to go view the property.
Well, to go view the property, you have to follow the showing directions. But to advertise other people's listings, okay, as long as you're not saying that you're the listing agent, you don't need that. Okay, so if you're now, if you're gonna prospect where their listings are per se, right? Then yeah, maybe it's a good idea for you to get permission, but I don't. Okay, these are homes that are for sale. I'm looking for buyers for them. Is that our job? I'm an exclusive buyer agent for the following properties, right?
Yes. Yeah.
That is our-
Yes. That's our job.
What's wrong with that?
Nothing.
Right? Does that make sense? So we're gonna be door knocking in other areas with that type of flyer. We're looking for buyers for homes. Right? Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I haven't gotten a complaint yet, but if I do, then I'll let you guys know it's, if they don't like it. There's some agents may complain about it, but again, I'm looking for buyers for their homes. Most listing agents don't want to be dual agent. So why would they have a problem with it? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I will have a flyer for you pretty to see, right? But basically you take instead of homes we've sold, right? Just put we're looking for buyers for these homes. Who do you know? So it's the same flyer that we our girls have done about just listed with house, different things. There's basically a couple properties, 3 to 6 properties on it, the bedrooms and bath count, right, where they are. But the top is gonna say exclusive buyer agents for the following properties. Right? Very simple. Yeah. Yeah. Once I have it done by the end of the week, I'll show you guys what it is on Thursday. Right. So next week will be door knocking, right? So
Sweet.
one of your homework to become a great listing agent, I told you guys, is to find an area with 1,000 to 1,500 homes, right? That I want you guys to focus on.
Yeah.
Right. So by next week, you guys need to have this. And I need you guys to have the stats. Okay, I'll show you what the stats I get from Lucy. So some of you guys have ordered it already. Great, right? But we need to now start meeting people in there. And if you don't have a CRM or a way to keep in touch with these people, then you're gonna fall behind. Okay, but I need you guys to find an area that you want to focus on, and what you want to see about a 5% turnover in that area. Okay, right? Unless there's a reason why there's no 5% turnover. Okay, because you need to make sure it's an area there's sales that happening, right? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
right. So that's what we have so far. Okay, so um, let's talk about buyers. Okay, because I've been getting a lot of people asking me about buyers specifically, right? We all know how to use the BRBC and the PSRA, right?
Mm-hmm.
Remember, the main difference is PSRA is limited to 30 days versus 90 days. It's limited to 2 properties rather than unlimited properties. And it's non-exclusive. The BRBC can become exclusive, right? They're both non-exclusive initially, but the BRBC is the only one that you can make exclusive. What does that mean? Okay. What that means is that exclusive means you will get paid no matter what, right? Non-exclusive means whoever finds me the house, I get paid. Okay. Right. So, but a PSRA, remember, PSRA is property specific, right? The BRBC is non-exclusive, can be property specific. What does that mean? Well, property specific is very clear, right? I show you the house, I'll be your agent, right? Okay. With the BRBC, if it's non-exclusive, I can hire John for Fremont, I can hire Twinkle for Fremont, and whoever finds me the house gets paid. That's a non-exclusive in an area. Okay. Now, if I say I want John for Fremont exclusive, I can't hire Twinkle for Fremont again because that would be conflicting. I can't have 2 exclusives for the same area. So exclusives, no overlap. Are we clear? No overlap on the properties. Okay. That's the only difference between the exclusive and non-exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Non-exclusive becomes, hey, first come, first serve, or property specific. So are we clear? Are we clear on the difference in PSRA and BRBC? Okay. Some people's like, hey, which one should I use? We teach you guys to use the BRBC all the time. Okay. Because the BRBC, you can make it 30 days, you can make it 3 property specific, and you can leave it non-exclusive. So it acts just like a PSRA. Okay. But if you're using PSRA, you cannot make it exclusive like the BRBC. So that's why I only teach you to use BRBC. But if you're going to use PSRA, because that's what you're comfortable with, then use it. But basically, you know the limitation on the PSRA. Okay. The BRBC has a bigger upside. Any questions on that? If there is, put it on the chat or unmute yourself. Okay. All right. So, do you need a PSRA or a BRBC, what we call employment agreement, to show a house? You technically don't if you don't want to get paid. Okay. If you don't want to get paid, then you don't need one. Okay. Are we clear?
Mhm.
So if you want to get paid, you better have one, otherwise you're breaking the rule. Yes.
What if a prospect comes during an open house?
Okay.
And they're like, hey, I need to see this house. Would you have some time right after your open house? And it's like a 12 to 2. So you have the afternoon to
Yeah.
talk with them.
Okay.
So at that time, and that like, do you wrap up your open house at the time and then make him sign a BRBC? But what if they're not comfortable? They're like, oh, I thought you can show me because you have access to the house.
Yeah. All right. So Twinkle asked a question, right? You're doing an open house, 1 to 4, whatever the time is, right? They said, hey, can you show me this house down the street, right? After your open house, right? Should she have a buyer, an employment agreement? We call it employment, right? If she wants to get paid. If she doesn't, then she don't need one. You can show the house, right? Okay. Now, why would she want to show the house? Because she wants to get paid, yeah? Right? So she should have one. You better have one. Otherwise, you're breaking the rule, right? Breaking the law. It's a law now, right? Before you show a house, if you want to get paid, you need to have an employment agreement. Okay. Now, the client says, "Well, I thought you can show the house." I said, "Yes. If I yes, I can show you any house at any time. The only question is who's going to be your agent. Do you have an agent?" Now, this would have come out in the beginning already, right? Because one of the first questions I ask, people usually is, how did you find the open house? Do you have an agent, right? That usually comes out in the beginning, especially in today's environment. Okay. So, oh, my agent's out of town. I said, well, perfect, um, right? It's perfect. Perfect. Your agent's out of town. Excellent. So, do you have a representation agreement with them? Yes, then it's usually the next follow-up call question. Do you have an employment agreement, right? Do you have a buyer broker agreement? Maybe I don't know what words that will ring in their mind. Well, yeah. Have you signed a contract with a buyer agent? You have a copy of it. Usually, I would ask, right? Because I want to make sure that they're not going to end up paying 2 brokerage. Because I also ask them, hey, why do you want to see it? Well, I just want to make sure that you're not going to double pay for buyer agent. That's all. Okay. I want to see if it's an exclusive agreement or not. Now I say I don't have one. Who's your agent? Let's call them and find out. Okay. I'm not going to step on anyone's toes, right? There's too many deals out there, right? But I want to make sure that I'm doing my job, right? So I want to confirm that. Okay. Now, if they tell me all these things and I go, I don't have one, right? So I said, great. By the way, if I show you that house and you like it, am I going to be your buyer agent to write the offer for you? The answer has to be yes, right? Well, great. In order for that to happen, I need you to sign this exclusive agreement that basically says, I'm going to show you the house. And if you like it, then I'm going to be your agent. You got to have that conversation. Yeah.
Mhm.
Otherwise, what am I showing you? Right. So now I want you guys to come up with different objections. If you were the buyer, what would you say? Right. So,
No, it's okay. We're not ready to sign, but it's all right if you can show, just.
perfect. Okay. Give me a call should things change. That's all you can do. Right. I'm not going to spend another 30 minutes on you if you don't want to, have some sort of conversation with me or if you're not serious. Right. Okay.
We have an agent, but we don't want to involve the agent just yet until we know we like the house.
Yeah, correct. So basically, what you're saying is, yeah, yeah. Okay, great. So if you like this house, I'm not going to be your agent. Is that correct? You're gonna call somebody else. Is that right?
Well, we haven't signed as yet with
Yeah.
them.
But if I show you the house and you like it, who's going to be your buyer agent to represent you, right? So again, it's just asking a different question in a different way, right? And yeah, it's confrontational, but it's just being honest, right? I need to know who's going to be your agent, but I'm not going to do someone else's job, for them, right? And again, explain to them how this works. How do you know how agents get paid? They get paid by helping clients like yourself. So would you like yourself to be one of my clients? If not, it's okay. Do you want to work with me? See, these are the type of things that you have to ask sellers and buyers, right? Now, one of the questions is, why should I work with you? So you got to be prepared for that. So we'll talk about that some more, right? Because when they say, why should I work with you? Well, that's a great question.
And in today's competitive marketplace, there's one main reason, or there's one thing that you should consider when choosing a real estate agent. May I share that with you?
Yeah, sure.
Great. So number one, Greg, is the company they work for and the market share of that firm. So with our case with Antero, we hold the largest market share in the entire city of Fremont or
Okay.
Union City. Blaza, blaza, blaza.
Yeah. So you got to have an answer for these things. And this is where you need to improve your script. You have to write your own scripts. What Blaze just said, you guys better write that down, right? There's some stuff you can say for a seller that may work for also for a buyer, vice versa, right? But be prepared. When they ask you, why should I work with you as a listing agent, as a buyer agent, you gotta have an answer. Do you want to work with the best, Maribel? That's why you want to work with me. Sometimes that's all it is. That's the same as no any other questions. Do you want to work with the best buyer agent? No, they might say, why are you the best buyer agent? Let me explain how I work. Do you have a buyer presentation? One of the first things I do is I make sure that you know your budget, that you have the best loan program, right? So what I do is I usually refer you to a couple of loan officers and get you approved. Would you like to get pre-approved? Remember, everything you say, you use as a closing tool. Would you like to get it pre-approved? Oh, I already been pre-approved. Perfect. Who's that loan officer? Or we're not ready. I need to know. Right. Well, the next thing I do is this: I do a full buyer consultation with you to determine exactly what are your needs and wants. Can I explain what that means? You do your buyer presentation, right? And then when after that, what's the next step? Right? Next step, next step, next step, next step. Yeah. What is your process of looking for homes? See, one of the things I do is, yes, you have access to all the properties out there. You have the internet, right? So you don't need me to find you the right home, correct? But you need me to find the perfect home for you, correct? You want me to find the best house that's out there, right? So you have the same access I do. Okay. So you don't hire an agent to find a house. That's the easy thing. You know why you want to hire a buyer agent? Is so that they can negotiate the best deal for you. Right? And you know what the best deal is? Is getting the home that you want at the price that you want. That's what you want, right? You want the right house, right? So again, it's up to you what dialogues you're going to use, but you have to be able to say that with some conviction. Okay, you want the best agent, right? Tell me, how many buyer agents have you met out there? How long have you been looking? Why has it taken you so long? How come you haven't moved in yet? Sometimes you have to confront them and kind of challenge the other agent. Yeah, you know, like with an expired, you know, I think you may have heard this on one of the Mike Ferry things, like, hey, I specialize in homes that should have sold that hasn't.
Mm-hmm.
What are you talking about? Right? That could be your script. I specialize in houses that haven't sold that should have.
Yeah.
If there's a lot of real estate scripts that's out there. Now, can you say it with conviction?
Mm-hmm.
I specialize with homes that haven't sold yet, or that haven't sold that should have.
Or I help homeowners get their homes back on the market and sold that other companies couldn't.
Right? Yeah, right. You can say that.
Yeah.
Can you say that? Did you guys write that down? What Blaze just said, right? There are many ways to say different things, right? It's up to you, right? Like when they say, "How come you know didn't have you seen my house? How come you didn't see it while it was on the market for 6 months?" Right? You got to have something to say with that, right? Like, how come? Well, I usually say because I didn't even know it was on the market. Now, some people may say, "How come you didn't know when you check the market every single day?" So don't use that. If you knew it was on the market, but you didn't show it, now you can say because I didn't have any particular buyer for your particular home. That could work, right? Yeah. Don't ever say because when people say I have a buyer, right? Make sure you have a real buyer. Okay, so when you be always honest with your scripts. Okay, always be honest because remember I said if you always tell the truth, you don't need to remember it,
Mm-hmm.
right? But if you lie or you try to make something crazy, you that takes a lot of brain space. Okay, so just be honest, be truthful with conviction, right? Okay. Why didn't you see my house while it was on the market? Because that's if you're gonna go after expireds, that's gonna be one of those questions. Okay, so we'll have a whole session on expired specifically. Okay, not necessarily on this class. Okay, but as different training because also we're getting a lot of questions about foreclosures and short sales. That's starting to happen in the valley. It's coming this way soon. Okay, so there's going to be a lot of learning to be done. Okay. Probate, something that you guys gonna need to improve your skills on probate. There's a class I attended, talked about probates. You guys should learn about that, right? Living trusts, right? So there's a lot of skills that we need to knowledge and skills that we need to develop. Okay, all right. So any questions on dealing with buyers in today's market? Pretty easy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Always ask them, hey, do you have an agent? To me, that's the easiest question, especially in today's climate, right? It's pretty easy. You can challenge them. And the question is, you know, who do you want to work with, right? So, any questions on the buyer side? Let me look at the chat real quick. Okay, everybody's laughing at my jokes. Okay, great, good, good. All right. So, if you have any good jokes, you guys can share. Okay, remember, here's the jokes, right? Jokes are just scripts. Remember, those are just words,
Mm-hmm.
right? Communication. Words are just 7% of the communication, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you have to know the words in order for you to practice the tonality, which is 37%, right? And then they say 55% is the body language, right? That's what we call 93% is the delivery, right? It's a delivery, right? Okay. Everyone knows how to kiss another person, the opposite sex, hopefully, right? It's in the delivery of that kiss, makes it memorable and make it an experience, right? So everyone can do a script, but can they deliver it to where it elicits a laugh or it where it's enjoyable for the other person? When we do a presentation, we have the same words, right? I can give you the scripts. How do you deliver it? Do they say at the end, "Bravo, Lace, bravo, Maribel, I'm going to list with you. Great presentation," right? That's what we want. We want a standing ovation. Great job. All right. So can we present it in a way to where it makes sense to them? Okay. That's all it is. That's why what's the most important thing? Is the presentation. It's how we present our services, how we door knock, how we communicate. That's all presentation. Okay. So um exclusive buying. Okay. So Tayuna, I hope I answered that question, Tayuna. If not, we'll continue that conversation. Okay. So Tayuna, I don't know did I answer your question? I hope I did. Okay. So again, all you gotta do is create a flyer of listings, right? And just say exclusive buyer agent for the following properties, right? Or exclusive buyer agents. Who do you know is looking for a home? Dot dot dot, right? And then at the bottom of those flyers, you can say how to buy a house with zero down, right? How to get $15,000 towards closing costs, right? Whatever loan programs you may have access to, right? Looking for below market rate homes. Do you guys know? Okay, so the last hour, we're gonna go to the MLS and teach you a couple things. Okay, some of you guys may have known this already. Do you guys know what below market rate homes are?
Mm-hmm.
BMRs.
Mhm.
Do you know how to search for them? Okay. Zoom roll. Who does not know about below market rate homes? You can say, I don't.
I don't.
Okay. Thank you, Carolyn. Okay. All right. So below market rate homes, right? These are homes, right, that the city makes the builder um, sell only to people that earn a certain amount of income, right? Like in Half Moon Bay, right? There's this builder who's building, I think, 15 homes. Three of them are for below market rate homes. They're not the 3,400 square foot homes. They're smaller, like 1,600 square foot, three-bedroom homes, okay? But they're for below market rate uh, income people, right? Okay, so someone who doesn't, who, because if that house was on the market, normally it would have been like double. Okay. Now, these below market rate homes have restrictions. Like they cannot sell it for fair market value in the future. Some of them, they have like a 40, if you hold on to it for 40 years, then you can sell it for fair market value, right? It's meant for people to stay there a long time or at least get on their feet to where they can buy a normal house, normal prices. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense what below market rate homes are.
Yeah.
These are for not necessarily low income because you still have to qualify. Okay, but it's below the normal, you know, average income per se in that area. Okay. So let me see what's what else on chat. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, all right, perfect. Okay,
So,
so
Greg,
yes, Carolyn.
so does that mean that those houses, when you say below market rate, uh, they can buy it at a lower price than what the market costs for?
Yeah, yep. I'll show you. Okay, so Tamara says the chance of to sell those are very low. What do you mean by that, Tamara? Okay, because when we sell those, right?
Oh, actually,
We get
because I went to one of those and then I had somebody know that who applied for. And
yes,
when I was following up with him, he said like, "Oh, there are so many applications that it was
of
hard
course,
for him to get one." I think it was,
of course, yes.
yeah,
Okay, yeah.
so
There,
many
there
people
is
are
a long
applying for
list,
that.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
This is below market rate homes, right? Of course, if the house, a normal property will sell for 1 million, and now you can get this for 700, why won't you? Why wouldn't someone not go after it, right? If they can qualify. Now, a millionaire cannot go after it, but someone who has 150, sometimes 200% of normal income or the whatever the average is might be able to. You still have to qualify, right? So it's not for someone who's earning, $20,000 buying a $600,000 property. That's not what this program is for, right? But yes, as Tamara said, there is high competition for it. There's usually a waiting list. Normally, they want someone that currently works and lives in the same city. That's number one priority. If they cannot find enough people that live and work in the same city, then they go someone that just works in the city, same city, right? And then eventually out of the city, and eventually, usually by then they would have found somebody already. Okay, so how do we do that, right? So let me share my screen. So if you guys log on to Paragon, right? Okay, show this in Paragon.
Do they usually have them in bigger cities?
Yeah, each city is required now, right? Uh, because in order for them to be approved, I believe it's 15% has to be okay. A builder can choose not to participate, but they will pay a bigger building fees, permit fees. So some builders, it's cheaper for them to build these units rather than pay those fees because they're hefty fees. Because what those fees are is going towards future housing for the city, right? So like this one is 20% in Half Moon Bay. So there's 3 out of 15 were specifically for that,
Mm.
right? All right. So let me share my screen. Share.
Well,
Choose here. Hold on. Okay, everyone's logged on to their MLS, right? Zoom world, you guys see my MLS? Paragon? You guys
Yes.
see it, right? Okay. All right. So if we hit search here, right? Search residential, right? Okay. And we're looking for active listings, right? Okay. So usually in the morning, I will pick out the code, right? That I want to see, right? Like for instance, 94587, right? Okay. This is what I typically will do in the morning. Okay. This is something that you guys should be doing now. So, okay. It's kind of like a hot sheet, but in this case, I need to remove all these. Like this, it tells me there's 75 listings in Union City currently active, right? Okay. Now, if I just want to see what happened yesterday, right? I can put here where it says list date. I can put yesterday's date, right? Okay. Now, Camille mentioned about hot sheets. Okay. You guys want to talk to tech support about hot sheets, but if you look at search, there's a hot sheet here, right? Okay. That just, there's different ways how to search that. But in this case, I'm just going to do a regular search. Okay. So here, where it says listing detail, this special info, right? You guys can see special info on yours? Okay. All right. Do you see special info? Okay. If you see special info, if you don't, right, click on customize and fields and then go find it and then add it to your search field. Okay. If you don't have it, don't worry about it. I'll help you at the end. Okay. So if you have the special info, click on the magnifying glass, right? So here you can search either auction below market rate. That's the BMRs, right? So if I look at just BMR, right? Okay. I hit save. You can see there's zero, right? That's currently active on zip code here, right? 94587. If I take that out, now you can see there's 10 in the whole MLS. In the whole MLS. Now, where are they? If I search this, remember, we have access to Southern California listings. Did you know that?
no, I actually do not.
Right? Yeah, there are sometimes will show up for. So here's Dublin, right? 358,000 for one bedroom, one bath, right? Not bad. That's an entry level. You're not gonna find a $350,000 condo in Dublin for that price. It's probably like 700,000, right? Now, if you look at the in Milpitas, right? Okay, here's one $749,000 2,000 square foot house in Oakley. So if you know this is probably worth more. I don't know how much more, but you look at it, right? Okay. Um, so if you see cities here like Hayward, $400,000, condo here on Rhythm. So this is fairly new. I don't know how old it is. 5 years old. Okay, that's new. I don't know how you're gonna find a $400,000 condo as entry level. Right now, we get paid normal commissions on this. Okay, yes, the buyer has to qualify based on income. Okay, so there's sometimes it's a lottery, but most of the time it's first come first serve. Right? Okay, and you cannot just overpay. There's a price that the city has set.
Yeah, that's she's the principal
Okay.
of what the VMR is. If you
Right.
overpay,
Right. Okay.
you're supposed to be here.
Right. Okay. So there are certain rules. This is okay. if your client qualifies for it, why not? Now they may not remember what is the purpose of marketing?
To get business.
To spread the message out there.
Spread the message to get calls,
Get calls back.
right? And you see if people qualify. Yeah, sometimes I've marketed BMRs and people are so frustrated when I tell them how they qualify. Why did you even advertise this? This is not for everybody. Yeah, that's right. This is for special clients that require, some help, right? Because yeah, some people, oh yeah, when they find out they earn much, and
Well, if you don't need my help, you know
Okay.
anybody that needs my help?
again, this is where okay, they may not qualify for that, but they can qualify for something else.
Mhm.
I said, well, that's okay. Since you can't qualify for, below market rate homes, let's see what you can qualify for. Would you like to see how you can buy your first home and see where the conversation goes? Right? Okay. Right.
Mhm.
Okay. So again, but this is one way, right? The other way is if you look at this, right? Okay. Some people say, well, I'm looking for foreclosure homes, right?
Mm,
In foreclosure, notice of default, right? This is in foreclosure typically it's about means the same, but sometimes people think in foreclosure means that um it can get confusing, but usually notice of default means that notice of default has been filed, right? We get that those NOD lists. That means they are in foreclosure, right? But sometimes people think they're in foreclosure means they're just late. So I typically will check both because all that means is that they are um they're in distress, right? Potential short sale, you're going to see this a lot more, right? Okay. Uh, REO means bank owned already, right? Okay. And then these others talks about probate stuff, right? Okay. So if I look, do you know how many foreclosures there are right now? Or
mucho.
yeah. So if I just put REO, right?
Ay, mucho.
Okay, 1,300,
Ay, mucho. And the whole entire MLS is
right? Now if I just look at um let me just look at Union City, right?
two.
What?
Oh, they're probably the same one down the street.
Okay.
Let's
Which
see.
one?
Let's see. What's the address?
Right? So if you look at this,
That's so cool.
okay? So if you look at this, right? So this Copa del Oro, right, is active, right? Now,
Click on it.
I don't know which one, if it's BMR. It's not a BM. I don't think this is a BMR because I know the price points, right? So if you look at this, it's probably going to be a notice of default or potential short sale, right? Short sale, right? So this person bought it, probably in the last couple of years. Now it's really wanting to sell. They don't have enough equity to pay the commission and get money out, right? I'm thinking they probably paid around 450 for this, right?
Check that, Ken.
Right? Yeah. So if I look at history, right, the first button, you guys know that, right?
Today I just found out.
Okay, you can see here, okay, it came on the market, in 529, right? Nick Wong, right? It listed at 400. When did it last sell? Right? Status sold. It sold for 405 back in 2022. Right?
Pretty much lived in it for free for a cool minute though, no?
I haven't lived it for free because remember, they paid the mortgage and all that, right? So, but basically, they didn't make any money, right? Right. So if you look at that, right? Okay. Yeah, 405, someone, yeah, it was on the market 398, right? So make sure you guys look at the history. So this is where to me, days on market don't really matter because you can see what the history is. Someone changes agents or re-inputs it as a new listing doesn't mean it's been on the market one day. I look at this, it's been listed 3 times, for different times. Okay.
Where'd you get it again?
Oh, you haven't gone to this class yet?
Pay attention, John.
All right. Okay. So you guys see all these little things here? Click on each of them, right? Each this one has history, you know, map, quick view, the tax, right? Um, the comparables, right? Okay. RPR. You ever played around with RPR, right? So check that out, okay? So see what's here. Okay, yeah. This history tool will tell you a lot. Okay. Right? Okay. Um, okay, so pay attention to this special info, right? So if you don't have special info, Twinkle, do you have it yet? No? You have it, right? So if some of you guys don't have this special info, just go to customize and fields and then go find it. And then bring it, to the right. Okay. And it's up to you if you want to put your primary or secondary criteria. Okay. Primary, just, this is what I see on the first page, kind of like the first page of Google, right? It's up to you how much you want to see, right? But this is how my first page looks like. You can copy it, just customize yours and see if you like it. Okay. Now, if you go to the other Paragon classes, you can also play around what kind of reports you want. Okay. Because if I look at this listing, right? And you click on reports here on the right, okay, you got different reports that you can do, different spreadsheets. Okay. Typically, my spreadsheets will look different than yours because I've customized how this looks. You see how I have different fields here, right? This is my default one. Now, yours may look different, but you can also customize this by hitting customize. Now, you can customize your fields here, how it looks, what you want to see here on your spreadsheet. Like if you want to see like who the listing agent is. Like I have a report here who it shows who the listing agent is. Okay. Not necessarily their company, but I want to know who the listing agent is. So that report will have a spreadsheet with a listing agent. Okay. And then if you want, okay, I'll say it off record later.
Very good. That's why they supposed to come to
All
class.
right. Okay. All right. So any questions on how to use this? Now, if you're in MetroList or if you're in MLS listings, your reports are going to look a little different. You can ask them, how can I find, call your tech support and they will show you how to search it. Okay. So any questions on how to use this? Zoom roll? We're good? Okay. Okay. So let me look at the chat real quick. Yeah. Okay. All right. What's this?
So quick question, Greg. The
Yes.
property you show, right? The condo, one bedroom, one bath. I'm curious about like why that person is not renting out instead of selling if it's a short sale.
Well, they don't want to rent it out because they just want to get rid of that property out of their books, right? And the only way to do it is they can remember he probably owes maybe 390, 380. So if he sells it for 400, he may not have enough money for closing costs, right? Which just includes the commissions. So he either brings money in or a short sale. You guys understand how a short sale works, right? This is when you have to negotiate the bank to take less, right?
Oh.
Okay, so this means like, let's say Divya, the guy borrows 400 from you. Now the property is only worth 380, so he's short $20,000, right? Right? Like I borrow 400 from you, now I can only come up with 380. Now I have to negotiate a short sale with you where we will sell it, but you have to take less. So that's what you have to do with the bank. So now the listing agent and the seller will have to negotiate with the bank to take less. Okay. So if you don't understand how short sales work yet, don't worry about it. But when you do have a client that owes too much, more than the value, because he can try to sell for 450, but he's not going to sell for 450. No one's going to pay 450, right? So this is the only way for him to get out of this. He wants to start over. Now, Divya says, why don't you just rent it out? How much can you rent that out for? Maybe 2,400, but his mortgage is 4,000. It doesn't make sense. So he would just rather cut it clean and avoid foreclosure because he can wait for the foreclosure. Short sale is faster than the foreclosure, right?
He purchased around like 400K, right? So
He
might be
bought
the
it for
mortgage is
405.
around like
He bought it for 405.
405. So around like how much is the monthly mortgage? Around like 2,200 or 2,300?
Yeah, maybe it depends on his interest rate, right? So do the math, right?
Okay.
Depends on the interest rate. He can have a 2%, 2022. What's the interest rate back then? Probably around 3.5, right? So you can do the math, but I don't know Maybe he had bad credit. He had 7%. We don't know, right?
Oh.
So these are the facts we need to find out as a listing agent, right?
Mhm.
If we are the listing agent. As a buyer agent, we need to know these things too. Now, will the short sale hurt the buyer's credit? I mean, the seller's credit? Sure. The late payments will hurt. A foreclosure hurts more than lates because lates typically affect you about 12 to 24 months. A foreclosure will hurt you between 5 to 7 years. It stays on your credit for 10. A short sale, it doesn't really hurt you as bad as a foreclosure because a short sale means you worked out something with a bank. Now, sure, they can try to work out a modification right now, but that's beyond this conversation today. Okay, so let me start to wrap up, right? So, this mentorship program, right? Okay, what you guys will have weekly homework, such as what I'm giving today, right? Why would you need why would I want to see a daily schedule? Well, guess what? That's what you need to be productive. In your When you went to school, did you have a schedule? When you went to work previously before you became a realtor, did you have a schedule?
Yeah.
Right? You had to go to work by a certain time. So I want you to determine what that work schedule looks like for you. And then we need to figure out what kind of work are you going to put in that work schedule? Like when do you prospect? When do you do skill building? And for some of you, there will be more time needed on skill building. Maybe you're not prospecting as much yet, but to get 5 to 12 listings, you need to prospect. And here's where the mentorship program comes in. I will work with you, but you don't need to work with me directly. In your different offices, like I'm not going to Tracy for a listing appointment. I'm not going to Tracy to help you. I'll help you prepare for it, but you have your leadership team, you have other top agents in your company that you can work with to partner up with to mentor with you. Okay, we have that access in each office. So if let's say Divya is in Fremont and she said, I want to work with somebody, who can I work with? So one of your homework today is to find out 2 agents you can work with in your office. Talk to your manager, or talk to me, and we have agents that says we're willing to work with agents, to mentor with. But this program that I'm putting together is for you to work with me from a so they don't have to teach you the basics, right? What you're going to need them for, it's like, hey, Jason, I need you to go on the listing appointment with me, right? I'll share the commission with you. You guys work that out. I always say, make it simple, 25% or 50%. Pick a number somewhere that you guys can live with between those two numbers, right? When I was new, I picked a female agent and a male agent. I said, hey, if I ever need you, I'll share the commission with you 50-50. I do all the work. You just come and help me get it. And if I need you during the transaction, you be there. So I was overpaying, right? But hey, if I'm paying you 50%, you better be there every time, right? But I will do all the work. Don't tell me I'm too busy. If they were getting 25%, they may have the right to say I'm too busy because they're only getting 25%. But if I'm giving you half, you better be there, right? So I didn't mind that because only if I needed them. Not every transaction I needed them, but when I did, they went with me, right? Like those expired appointments, right? I wanted them there because when expire says, "Hey, how many homes have you sold?" Right? But see, here's the thing: I can handle those questions, right? When I was new, hey, how many homes have you sold? Well, actually, I haven't sold any home yet, but you're gonna be the first home I sell in this neighborhood. How many homes you sold? Actually, I haven't sold any home in this area yet, but our company or me and my team, right, have sold many homes. Here's a list of homes we've sold. So we know how to handle. We can create a presentation where you don't need them, but if you need them, like I work with, you guys know Dominic Nicoli from Intero Los Altos, one of our top agents. I've worked with him before for Sunnyvale deals. I say, hey, I'll bring the deal to you. We split it. We do the work, right? Things like that. So you can, like some of our agents have worked with Andy C, right, in Saratoga because he's Mr. Saratoga. Whatever, right? It's up to you. But you need to have at least 1 or 2 agents that you can say, hey, I need your help. Are you available at this time? They'll help you pre-qualify them and do the work if that's what you want to do, right? Now, your manager, as far as I know, we're willing to help you go to an appointment, but we're not going to do the work for you, right? So don't just say, oh, Rishi's available, Greg's available. They'll do, no. we're there as support, not to do your job. That's why we have the mentors to help you, right? Right. But we will give you enough confidence, right? But hey, if I needed my broker back then, I would call them. As a matter of fact, hey, at Intero, we have the greatest training program. They don't even allow us to talk to you unless we're fully trained. You want an agent that's fully trained, correct? Right? As a matter of fact, would you like to meet my broker, my manager, whatever you want to use, right? Hey, let me have them meet you. When are you available? Right? We'll help you close the deal. No big deal. But, you know, we're not going to do, okay, when I say, the CMA, right? We got to ask you, hey, have you done a CMA? Have you pre-qualified them? What have they said to the questions? You better ask the basic Mike Ferry questions, right? Just like there are some questions that I will ask you guys if we role play, right? Have you asked, did you ask him this, right? Because remember, there's three main things we need to know: motivation, urgency,
and dollars.
and dollars. And not the first answer they give you is what's important about the answers that they give you. What's important about buying a bigger house? What's important about buying a bigger house before you get married, right? Because they might say, oh, we just want to buy a bigger house before we get married. Oh, tell me, why is that important? What's important about getting into a house before you get married, right? It's not the reason they give you is you get deep down. What's important about $400,000? How did you arrive at that price? What would happen if you don't get that price? Are you more apt to give it more time to get that price, or are you willing to give it? Are you willing to take a lower offer to get you to Florida? Right. So we need to be able to handle those types of objections. Okay. And salesmanship will come in time. But here's the thing: nothing happens unless we prospect. So this week, before we meet on Thursday again, right? Um, how many people are you going to talk to? Right. Right. So figure out a number that you can live with, right? Like to where if Larry says, I'm going to talk to X amount. So Larry gives us, on his daily affirmation, right? A number of people he's going to talk to. How often is he hitting that number? And if Larry doesn't hit that number,
Ask Larry.
huh?
Ask Larry.
Larry, right? So Larry, last week while you were at the Superstar Retreat, how often do you hit the, was it 20 or 20 plus numbers of COI calls?
So regardless of any day, if I don't, I usually kind of punish myself by getting up a half hour earlier the next day. So if I'm getting up at, let's say 4:45, then it'll be 4:15, and that's when I start journaling and again listing down the people that I need to call for that day.
Okay, all right. So now making the calls is one thing. The next thing we're going to need to figure out is the conversion rate, right? If Larry's calling 20 people a day, how many appointments is he able to get from those calls or other calls? And this is where, when Mike Frey says you need to know your numbers, right? We need to know our numbers because if Larry's been talking to 20 people a day for the last, let's say, last 12 months, let's say, right? So whatever that number is, right? And the conversion rate is not where he wants it to be. We need to figure out where is he missing it. Remember the income chain? We prospect to get leads. We do lead follow-up to turn into appointments, right? We go on appointments to do presentations, right? We do presentations in order for us to get contracts, right? In between all those, the income chain from prospecting to lead follow-up to appointments to presentations to the contract, there's things in between, right? Like, how's my lead follow-up, right? I meet people today. What's my lead follow-up system? Okay. I go on appointments. How's my presentation? Right? I go on presentations. How's my objection handling? How well do I close?
Mm-hmm.
And then when I get the contract, how did I do on pricing? Well, I got 10 listings. None of them sold. I hate listings. Well, guess what? You're going to hate listings if they're not selling. See, to me, your listing should sell within 30 to 45 days. If you took a listing that hasn't sold in 30 to 45 days, something you missed. You took an unmotivated seller or you didn't know pricing. Okay. Because if you're going to take a listing for more than 30, 60 days, right? I know we teach you guys to take 6-month listings, right? Be prepared. Why is your listing 6 months? You got to have an answer for that. Okay, so think of that. Why you guys take 6-month listings or 3-month listings? If you're saying you're going to sell this in 30 days or less, Overpriced. So are you going to take an overpriced listing? You got to be careful with that, right? Do you know pricing very well, right? Are you willing to take overpriced listings? And when you take overpriced listings, did you tell them it's overpriced? Or were you just too optimistic? Right? Right. What is our job? Sell the listing. Not to take the listing, sell the listing. Right? So when someone asks you, what's your job? It's to sell the listing, sell the house. Right? Anyone can take a listing, Mr. Seller. It's another thing to actually get a home sold. So do you want an agent that will sell your home? That's why you're hiring me, is to get your home sold, not just to list it. See if that works. Okay. Right? Whatever scripts you use, right? Because again, it's words, right? Words matter. You see 7% communication, but they do matter. So I'm gonna teach you a little bit about languaging, right? Yet it's the delivery of that language is the key. Right? Yeah. We're gonna use more affirmative and words, more positive words in our conversations. Okay. We can get more agreement with people. All right. So questions on the program itself or what we're trying to accomplish here on Mondays from 9 to 12, right? Again, for some of you guys who's been in my training, I would say half of them, half of things you learn may not be new if you have good memory, right? Or if you wrote down some notes, right? Okay. Some of you guys are actually applying some of the things you've learned. So the retention is more, right? Some of you guys are in and out of training. So I don't know how well you retain the information, but understand this, training never stops, right? There's always something new to learn. Okay. Um, but remember, it's in the application of that knowledge is the key, right? If you don't talk to people, it doesn't matter what we know, right? So we need to be talking to people. So your other homework, besides the other one, some of you guys know what homework, right? Remember? Yeah. Okay. So you guys know about the 100-point system that we have at Intero. Okay. This you guys see this? The 100-point? Okay. So this is something we created a while back, right? You guys can use this, right? I'm going to show you a simpler one next week. Okay. It's from the Mike Ferry. You have to somehow keep track of your numbers, right? So every day, I challenge you to complete one of this and take a picture and send it to me or your manager, right? Right. Now, this kind of tells us what you did that day, right? Right. So when you don't send it, our assumption is you didn't do any of that, right? Not a single point. Right. Right. I mean, you did something fun in real estate, but I don't know what you did, right? So if you want to continue, right, you want accountability, right? You have that, right? Just complete this every day, right? At the end of the day, just complete it, right? Okay. On the let me see, who was on the superstar retreat?
Very
Right? Okay. So Larry, John, Divya, okay, I think that's it. That was it, right?
Yeah.
So on the top of our paper, right? Do you have your notes, Larry? Divya?
Yes.
Do you have your notes with you? Right?
Yes.
On the top of each page, right? Like on the top, right? On the top here, right? Right? Did you guys write down your deals goal or your closing deals or your income goal every single page?
Every single page, yes.
On every single page. Right? Okay. Right? Now, why was that there, right? Okay. So every day we basically, or every page we wrote down, it's simple, right? You write down how many deals you want to close or your income goal, right? Okay. It's just reaffirm something, right? We wrote it down. Like how many times did you write it, right? I actually had to get a second book because I was taking a lot of notes, right? I have 2 books, right? So I ran out of pages. I was like, whoa, I ran out of pages. Now, I mean, you say, oh, you write too big, but that's what you want, right? You want to take notes to where you understand. You write. See, when Mike says something or someone says something, what idea did that ignite in your mind? Like, what did that remind you of? When I say, motivation, urgency, and dollars, right? Some of you guys forgot about that. There are always I always say there's 3 things we need to work out with any buyer sellers: motivation, urgency, and dollars. Right? Figure out why they want to buy or sell. Read it deep down. Why do they want to move to Florida? Why do they want to move closer to the grandkids? What's important about that? Right? You need to really get down. Urgency. How soon? 3 months? What would happen if it hasn't sold? What happens if you haven't found the right house? What is your plan B and C? See, you need to know price. With sellers, net, right? What's important about that number, right? There has to be some importance. Like I met a client this Sunday. He said, I want to get 1.7. I said, well, that's interesting. How'd you arrive at that price? Oh, there's could these sales, that. I said, okay, great. So before we put the home on the market, are you planning to do any improvements? Right? I didn't tell him no. But I asked him questions, right? To see how he arrived at the 1.7 and what is he willing to do to get to that price. So I asked him again, more importantly, I said, okay, what are you willing to do? How long will that take? Do you have the time and money to do that? Right? Because some people say, oh, I want to do this. Then what does that really mean? Right? Um, and then, of course, urgency. He said he wants to get things done by August. So June, July, August. Which part of August? Did you just want to start marketing at that time, or did you want to have it sold and closed? Right? That's part of the script, guys. Right? You ask them, okay, what would happen if we haven't accomplished that? Now, I didn't say what would happen if I haven't sold it or if we haven't sold it. I said, well, what if the market doesn't cooperate? How would that affect your plans of going to Florida? Right? So again, there's different questions you can ask, just different ways. And eventually, as you learn about personality types, right? Between amiable, expressive, analytical, right? This guy's analytical. So you have to tailor your questions or the words to that personality type, and then you have to tailor the delivery also. Okay? That'll come in time. Just understand, you just have to learn the basic first. Okay? Mike Ferry scripts is basically sent to an analytical driver. That's who it's meant for. Most of his questions. Okay? Okay? But we can change that up. Okay? So, can you do that? The 100 point. If you can't do this yet, right? Just tell us how many contacts did you make that day? Start with that. Today I spoke to this many people. Today I found, because when you start to report your numbers, right? That's creating accountability for you. And then of course, are you proud of that number? Because again, if you don't report it, we just assume you didn't do it, right? Now in Mike Ferry, right? You paid 12,000, $1,250 for their coaching program, right? Their full program, right? Yeah, so you can pay that. So here's what I always say, right? Don't spend, for me personally, don't spend anything unless you can get 10 tenfold. So if you can spend 1,000, you get 10,000 back, right? Right. So for some of you guys, remember I asked you guys for 3 blank checks, yeah? Right. So next week, I need you to bring 3 blank checks and $100 bill. Yeah. Okay. Zoom world, FedEx it to me. Just kidding. Right. So if you're in Zoom world, right, you're participating, at a lesser level than people who are here live, right? This is going to be my assumption. The people that are here live, right, are probably going to be succeed faster or more than the ones who are doing it on Zoom. The ones on Zoom, I'm assuming they're just trying it out, which is totally fine. Okay. Because remember, I've always said success can and will wait for you. Because sometimes there are challenges people have, right? Not everyone wants to do 25 deals or 5 to 12 listings in the next 12 months. They say they do, but not everyone's committed to it. Right? Okay. I'll show you that you can. So in this progression between July 1st and June 30th, I'll show you this by showing you, I'm not going to count my COI calls on my number of deals. We're just going to go strictly from my cold calls and door knocks and open house that you can get 5 to 12 in the next 12 months. All right. So I'll show you the activities that I will do that you can do also. Okay. That you can get those five, at least minimum 5 listings. Okay. Because I'm assuming, like I said, no one in the call so far here have done 5 to 12 new listings in the last 12 months. All right. So we're starting, same, right? Like I said, I'll tell you, I got this because of that. And then you'll know, right? Because it's from the activities that we're doing. We will do group door knockings. I'll do the open houses too, right? Yeah. And again, with open houses, like I said, with anything that you do, prospecting is about engagement, right? If you do an open house, all you're looking for is 1 or 2 good ones per open house. That's all you're looking for. It doesn't have to be from that sitting in the open house. It's the prospecting around the open house, right? Before and after the open house, right? Because remember, the purpose of the open house is the reason for you to be prospecting, right? Because we cannot control how many people come in. Can we agree? You cannot control that, but we can control how many people we touch outside. Yeah. Yes. Question, comment?
Oh, yeah, push them in.
Push them in?
Push the people, push them in.
Be careful, you might get sued. Pull. We pull people, all right? You pull, don't push. We pull people in. Okay. Because when we pull people in, it's their choice. Right? You push, you're imposing yourself on them, right? All right, so, all right. So one of your homework was to do the 5 pillars, right? The 5 pillars of happiness, right?
When should you do that?
You should be looking at that often because you're making changes to that, right?
And quarterly?
At least quarterly for sure. Because remember, you're adding and removing. You're adjusting as you go, right? Right. So, like, one of the things, are you still in touch with Costco, Camila? Like, you know people there, right?
I do.
You know the manager there at your
Which
store?
one?
At your store?
Yeah.
Any manager, right? So, like with Camellia, right? She has that network with Costco, right? What I would like her to do is see if she can do a home buyer seminar for Costco employees, like how to buy your first home as a Costco employee, right? Find out if they have any down payment assistance as Costco employees, right? Or how can they? I know they have a retirement program. Can they borrow money from or can their retirement program help them in the down payment?
They can.
Okay, so find out how that would work, right? And then you can create a marketing piece where you can do it at the break room, right? You can do it at the break room or and it doesn't not during work hours, like after, right? You do they have to stay after work or come to a weekend, right? To where they can listen. They can help you do that, right? You can have, Marlene or someone from cross country help you with a home buyer seminar. Okay. Yeah. So again, there are things that you can do for different networks, and that's just because she has contacts at Costco. But if you guys have contacts at a school or different places, you guys can do those home buyer seminars. Or I know, like Trang, she does home seller seminars, how to fix up houses. That's how she creates a marketing piece for that. When preparing your home for sale, is how to fix it up. Okay. So again, there's a lot of ideas that we're going to be talking about. But for this program itself, right, it's about being accountable to the group to be able to do the work. Like, can you make the contacts? If you're not able to, we need to figure out why. Why not? Like, how many contacts do you think you can make in a given day? Let's wrap up with that, right? How many contacts do you think you can honestly have? Like Larry said earlier, right? I don't go home until I hit this contacts. What's that number? Right? Figure that out. Okay. And text it to me. Like, I can commit to this number. What is that number? Like, I have this Think 25 group, right? It's still there, but no one's really doing the work yet, right? It takes time. Can you do the 25 contacts per day? Every single day. Like, you don't go home unless you hit 25. Right? Like, so every day between now until you leave the program, tell me how many did you do at the end? And then from there we can keep track, right? because I can get the numbers analyzer from Mike Ferry. It costs some money to do. So if you guys really want that, I can negotiate something with them where we can just get the numbers analyzed. But this is your analyze, right? Is how many, because we can look at like the last 7 days. This is what you have. Because we can see what your trends are, right? So that's why that when we came up with this, right, it's a good start. But in Mike Ferry at MikeFerry.com has one that's a little bit simpler. Okay. So if you are in this program, okay, if you say I'm in, I want you guys, Zoom World, to text me, right? And text me your contact info, right? And I'm gonna create a separate chat on text, right? A separate group. I'm gonna be sending you guys some things that you guys will have to listen and watch. It's got YouTube, there's different YouTube things that I want you guys to see. Which I might send to other people too, but the ones who are committed, I need to know who they are as of now, right? So we can start. Okay. So you guys have my number, right? Okay. If you don't, let me know. Just reach out. Okay. But you guys get my emails, I'm assuming. So you guys will get some of those emails. When you guys get emails from me, just click on them, download, right? And save that information for the future because you never know when you want it. So one of your homework is for you guys to know the 7 basic Mike Ferry scripts already by next week. By next week. 7 basic. Okay. To where you know majority of it, right? Because if we do the expired now, right? You may know half of it, right? You don't need to know it word for word, but you need to be able to bring that information to the front, right? Like, are you planning on interviewing more than one agent for the job selling your home? That's in there, right? It doesn't have to be, it's not just a for sale by owner script. The opening is, right? But if you analyze the questions, they're all similar, right? The only difference is, when you plan on interviewing the right agent for the job selling your home, that's in there.
Yeah.
On all 3 scripts, on the prospecting scripts, right? So if you know the basics, right, we can build on that. All right. So I'm going to stop my recording here.